Okie dokie, we're back. And we're doing the topic that works, that gets people up. Welcome in, people, welcome in. We're just starting live, just chilling with some music. Alright. That was Landslide by Fleetwood Mac. I don't really feel like singing today. I don't have the best voice. So I might just play until someone gets up here. Let's see, who's all with me? Welcome in, everyone, welcome in. Alright. Welcome in, everyone. Welcome in. There we go. Alright, cool. Alright, welcome in, people. Welcome in. Just jamming out. Just doing some fiddling on the six string guitar. What am I saying? Anyways, the topic is what's been on your mind lately. We can talk about literally anything that comes to mind. The goal is just to have good dialogues to help people feel seen and heard and maybe progress and figure out what we're doing on this earth together. That is the goal. That is the goal. We got a couple people. Hello. Hopefully you guys have been having hopefully, you've been having a good Sunday. It's been decent. I woke up at a decent time, got some coffee, did some walking. It was pretty nice. But if you guys have requests, I'll try to play it. But we can chat. I kind of want to chat more and listen to people. But we can do whatever. Welcome in, people. Welcome in. Hey, God provides best. I appreciate you for following me. How's this go? right, here we go. We got someone. Let's do it. Let's freaking do it. Hello, hello.
Hello.
How you doing? How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing well. Yeah, yeah. So, what's been on your mind lately?
Been thinking about how Earth feels like a game, like a customization game.
A customization game? You kind of cut out in the
Yeah.
beginning. I didn't hear like everything you said.
Oh, I said Earth feels like a customization game.
Oh, Earth feels like a customization game. What do you mean by that?
Well, so I've been thinking about like NDEs. Have you heard of NDEs?
NDEs. I have not. Non-playable. No, I was gonna say NPCs, but no, that's not right either. So never mind. NDEs.
Oh, it's like it's called like a near unalive experience where people have like spiritual experiences in the afterlife and then come back.
Whoa. How's that work? Like, is it like dreaming in a sense, or like wait, you're in a near-death situation, just like you're in a crash, maybe in a car, and then you like have these experiences, or what do you mean?
Yeah, so there's lots of testimonials of people that experience this kind of thing, and they all have unique experiences. Some have commonalities, and they come back and give testimonies about it. But I find that very fascinating.
Like, so what are some of these stories? Like, what are some of the experiences that they go through, if you remember any?
Sure. So what usually happens is they usually have what's called like a life review, where like a spiritual guide or spiritual being will show them like their entire life, but on not only their entire life, how all the beings around their journey felt as well. So they'll feel like the emotions of everybody involved with their journey that they just had.
Hmm. Mm-hmm. Hmm. Interesting. Um, I take it you're like spiritual or like religious, and you.
Yeah, I love spiritual stuff.
So how does this tie back into like customization with like Earth, or like what do you mean by that when it comes to customization?
Well, so like during that event, they usually discuss like why the things happen during their journey, and it's usually that there was a discussion before they incarnated into the Earth journey, but also it seems like that experience itself is customizable. So it feels like everything, all of our decisions lead up to like that moment
What
kind of
moment?
thing.
Like the near death experience, or
Yeah.
hmm. Okay. So like, do you think everyone has this experience like when they are about to die, or how would you explain like what does this mean? Like, is this like something that I guess like if I like am laying in my deathbed, I go through like the whole like stats of my life, or all the stuff that led up to that moment, or like what do you believe?
Yeah, and not only that, I think um in a way all your ideas about what that even looks like, the afterlife experience looks like, even shapes what that experience is potentially like as well.
Hmm. Hmm. What the afterlife is like that shapes how it's like as well. I'm trying to think. Um, Hmm. It's interesting to think about these different ideas because I always thought it would be interesting to have like stats at the end of like your life, and like how many poop turds did I poop that go around the earth, or I don't know, just something stupid like that, right? I thought it'd be interesting to get stats. But that's interesting. I've heard people getting like near death experiences, like getting those like uh I don't know what you call it, like just things that happen like outside of the body kind of experience, or something in such a realm like that. Um, but I haven't like dug too deep into it to really understand it too much.
See, and even the believing in that you'll see all stats would therefore motivate you to try and get certain stats as high as possible, right?
Well, what kind of stats would that be? Like
And
what are the
that's what's
goals?
fascinating is I think it'd be different for everybody. Like for
Right.
me, I would want peace, joy, faith,
How
imagination. I would want all the stats to be as high as possible.
how would you get stats in like faith or like harmony or like what would that look like for you in your life?
So Jesus gave a theory that the more you pray and the more you fast and the more that you focus on God, the higher your faith stat would be.
Oh, so
The
it's like a
other stats,
percentage. It's like a varying like level of like how much do you like. It's like a meter in a sense, right? So if you have really high faith, you'll be like up here, but like if low faith, you'll be down a bit more. Is that right?
yeah, I see all spiritual attributes as numbers that can be leveled up. Yeah.
Hmm. Interesting. Do you find like meaning in numbers too, like even on Earth right now?
Well, okay. So this brings up a good point. I see reward systems in everything. Like even our biological systems have reward systems in play. There's reward systems everywhere. If you, that's what I've noticed.
Like what?
So,
What would those kind of be like?
like, you want biological examples?
Well, whatever that comes to mind first, or just different examples.
So, like serotonin, melatonin, dopamine. I would say these are all things that if you invest the right focuses, you'll get natural reward system responses.
So interesting. I'm bipolar one, and when I get into manic episodes, I my dopamine and serotonin levels spike through the roof, and they overwhelm the receptors. Is that a reward for me being in that state of mind?
I suppose if you learn tactics that increase those things, do you have tactics or strategies that can cause that to happen?
Maybe I'm kind of playing around with ideas. I don't I think so. I would like to talk to people who actually study the brain a lot to understand this instead of me just like whipping this out of my ass. But I believe that people have been through traumatic experiences. Anyone is susceptible to being in mania or at least psychosis, um, and I believe it's a way of thinking in a sense. I think I don't know if this is accurate or not, but I believe getting yourself out of that trauma is like a way of or like coming to understand yourself in a unique way uh, puts you into that state of mind potentially. I don't know, um, but I don't know if I'm in control of that or if my body and my biology is just how that is with my brain, right? With all the chemicals just being different. So I don't know.
Yeah, and I believe that we're all so unique that each case may be incredibly unique. But yeah, I would do experiments to see what gets better results
Right.
for causing like joy and happiness. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like what other than like biology being like a part of like um, being like what was the reward system, right? Like what other reward systems do we have or that we can like apply meaning to or find in the world that you think?
I think we could do experiments with karma. I know not everybody believes in like a karma type of thing, but I think it's true. Like generosity and kindness, I think will lead to joy and good things happening in the future. Although I would say that takes experiments for personal people to do on their own to see what kind of results they get. But it's stuff like that. I think there's things that people can do in the long run that they'll view as an investment.
Yeah, no, I agree with that sentiment. Like, I think as long as, like, if you try to be the best or that you can be that day and spread kindness and be curious and be understanding and open minded, I think that's a good way to lead life, And I think things just tend to happen from that. So I think that's important to have in your value, like in your foundation, to be a good person.
Yeah, so and then it comes down to I also believe in manifestation where what that people should be careful what they wish for and what they're actually truly chasing.
What do you mean by that?
So I think everybody's truly chasing different things. They're chasing very specific things.
Yeah, like what kind of things would different people be chasing?
Ooh, I like that question. So some people are chasing stuff just because they're afraid. So they might be trying to survive. So they're choosing tactically the most thing that will they think will help them survive and therefore dodge fears. Some people are just trying to find inner peace. So they're just chasing the thing that will grant them the most peace. Some of them want power, so they're chasing the path that they feel like will grant them the most power. All kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's one of those things too where I believe that fear is the root cause of all unnecessary suffering. If the individual can eradicate fear from the mind, they can lead more productive and fulfilling lives. Like that doesn't mean we can't feel fear, but don't let it dictate how we think, right? And I think we can really help people out if we like talk to them in such a way where they can understand that on their own, right? And like fine tune their brain. Um, but yeah, I think fear leads to a lot of unnecessary suffering. So it's interesting if people are having that goal of not to be afraid, or maybe their fear is driving them, like to kind of introspectively look inside and understand what's going on with that person and why that happened in the first place, right? Because I believe people have been like I believe everyone's been hurt by someone. I think that's universal, and that kind of drives who they like are as a person in a sense sometimes. But I would say like we were shaped by our biology and our environment as we are as kids, and that kind of changes how we interact, or not changes, but uh, what's the right word? It influences how we behave as adults.
Yeah, I have certain theories about how to become fearless. My main theory is to imagine all the scenarios that you think you'd be afraid of and then go into that scenario in your mind and find a way where it would be like a fun challenge of how to deal with that scenario until you're no longer afraid of it. And then if you could do enough of those scenarios where you can't imagine any scenario that you're afraid of anymore, then you pretty much become fearless.
What's one of those cases, if you don't mind sharing, that you went through?
You mean in real life or like a theoretical one that I imagined?
Either one that comes to mind.
Oh. Um I try and imagine like what it would be like to be in an extremely painful scenario, like physically painful, or like if I was in like an island by myself, could I deal with like the being an absolute introvert, or if I was in a super extrovert scenario where I was like always around people in close proximity, how I would deal with that. I'll just every really it comes down to your imagination of
Yeah,
what your imagination can come up with. Yeah.
that's fantastic. I think that's great. It's like simulating like scenarios in a sense to like help better yourself in real life in a sense. So I find that interesting. Because I've I've done the same in some regards. Like when it comes to like talking to people, like I'll like rehearse. Like this is what I used to do in the past because I was always so afraid to like speak my mind. And so I'd like rehearse, or like if I said something wrong, I would like reflect on it and be like, why did I like do that, or like why did I say that? And like simulating is interesting in the mind, and it can be a positive thing, but also for me in the past, like what I'm explaining now, it was a negative thing sometimes.
Yeah, I'm excited with the news bringing up all these theoretical types of like aliens that exist, apparently, that they're talking about in the media lately, and I'm imagining what encountering those beings each would be like. It's fun to imagine different scenarios that are theoretically possible.
Right, and I think this is why like stories are important, like what we tell ourselves, but also just narratives we watch for entertainment. Because like science fiction is really interesting when it comes to that, because obviously it's fictional, but like it's like possible, or like logically plausible maybe to uh be like happen, so we can like put our disbelief, or like the suspension of disbelief out there, to like engage with these characters and empathize with them and understand their journey. And but that's one thing, right, with storytelling. But I think the stories we tell ourselves is critical to how we operate, and I think thrive and progress as the human species.
Yeah, I deeply think that the more scenarios that we're prepared for, the better quality of life and more peace we'll have. But that takes a really strong imagination to do, I think.
Right. We're not going to be able to think about every single situation possible, right? I think it's like a way of thinking, like to make to make any situation that you encounter be okay with how you interact with it. If that makes any sense. So I think it's like bettering yourself, like being introspective or like understanding like who you are as a person, how you interact with people in the world, and come back out and test that out to people that you interact with. Like right now with you and me, right? We're doing that. We're engaging in ways. We're both being vulnerable with our brains, and I'm just letting my words just like go wherever they're going. I don't know where this is gonna end or the sentence is gonna end, but I'm being vulnerable with it, and I'm just speaking my mind and rambling. But I think that's a good thing because then we can come back in and I can reflect after this conversation and I can be like, well, this has been a positive influence for me. I'm going to carry this energy out to everyone that I interact with in the future, you know? So it's like one of those things where I think it exponentially grows.
Yeah, I feel that in the afterlife, I will have an opportunity to interact with whatever beings want to interact with me. So that's what your live really reminded me of, where it basically said, "Hey, anybody who wants to have a conversation, feel free to discuss whatever." And that's what I feel like the afterlife is going to be like for me personally.
Like having discussions with like a random person and like they tell you your stats or like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I look at the Christian view where Jesus said like I'm preparing a unique place for you, which makes me feel like each of us will have our own unique place in the afterlife, and then beings can visit other people's designated places if they want to, and therefore I would have like a designated place, headquarters, whatever, where
Oh,
beings
nice.
can visit my territory if they want to.
What would you like that
I
to
think,
be if you could imagine?
what would it be like?
Yeah, what would you like that to be like for you?
I view it in layers. I think there would be like an inner part where I could talk with God. There'd be like more of an outer part where the beings that kind of want to chill and stay with me on a longer period would be, and then there'd be like an outer layer where beings that want to visit would be. That would be like more like a tropical garden kind of thing.
Oh yeah,
They,
okay.
yeah, like each of the layers would be have a lot of nature, but they would look different because that'd be fun for me if each of the layers looked unique.
Definitely. I think that'd be fantastic. I think it's interesting because like we don't know if that's like going to be the case, right? But like it's doesn't hurt to imagine and like believe that it could, right? Because it just it brings the person like a sense of peace. I think I don't know what it brings you, but I think it's not a bad thing to do that because it also like helps us like imagine what we can get in our lives too, in a sense.
Yeah, I think creative freedom is very important. And that's a lot what I think the Earth journey is about, is figuring out what we would even do or what we would want to do with creative freedom if we had unlimited power to be as creative as we wanted to be.
Right. I mean, it's like the like how you said like the world's like a customization or like the world is our oyster. Some might say, but like it's interesting like what we can do to like have a positive impact on others, right? And what do we create in that way? This is why like as an artist myself, I'm a 3D artist and I've worked in the film industry, in different industries with virtual reality. But it's interesting like different kinds of ways we can like educate people with using art, but also entertain, of course. But it's been really nice just to be a creative and do that as a profession, you know. But I have so many ideas too for the future. I just don't know where it takes me, and if it takes me anywhere, if it doesn't take me anywhere, that's fine. But I think everyone, in a sense, has like a creative, like everyone can be creative, right? People sometimes I think say they're not creative, but I think they just haven't like tried hard enough, or not tried hard enough, but like people told them they weren't, or they got hard on themselves. But I think everyone has the capability to be creative, you know. And I would even go one step further. I think we all have our like I don't claim to be a genius, but I think we all have an ability to become like our own kind of geniuses for ourselves, so we can like thrive and progress and go forth. I think it's just the way we fine tune our brains and like really understand who we are as people. I think we can get to that point, and I'd be interested to work with more people to understand their capabilities as well as them helping me understand mine. If that makes any sense.
Yes. Um, Art has terrific potential for talking about concepts, eternal concepts, and a very strong legacy that will theoretically impact future generations. So that's the beauty of art's potential. I tend to focus on things that are invincible and eternal. That's why I like focusing on concepts like joy and peace and trying to think of how it can endure any scenario kind of thing.
Right. Like, and when it comes to joy and peace, like what are you actively trying to do to fulfill that or try to make it in fruition? Fruition? Is that the right word? I don't know.
Yeah, so for joy, I picture like the most annoying scenario I can and how I would find joy in that scenario.
Okay.
So, yeah, I would say meditation really helps with both.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, it's like a
Nice.
focused meditation on joy. Yeah,
What do you when you meditate, like what's your process like for that?
that's a good question. Um, I would say it's the creative freedom with like how I would design the afterlife setting and the because that creative freedom of all that art and architecture and design really brings me a lot of joy. Plus the fact that I believe in manifestation. So I believe the more you focus on like wonderful things, the more chance you also attract those in your earth journey as well. So I believe that's
Interesting.
guaranteed for like the afterlife, but even if you're focusing on that, that will have a higher chance of attracting things like that in your earth journey because of those wishes. And also, people just like a joyful person, or well, there's certain people that like a joyful person, and you'd want the people that like joy anyway, or at least that's what I want.
Right. So like it's more like meditation is more like a visual thing for you. Like you can, like see it in your mind's eye, like what you would like to see in this like afterlife. Is that kind of what you're going at?
Yeah, it's a visual focus, really as many ways as you could focus. If music helps or the visual helps, as many ways as possible. Yeah.
Hmm. Interesting. Because I've tried meditation, and I can't always clear what's going on in my mind. Like if I don't have anything going on in my mind, there's always like music playing in it, like it's a song that just like is an earworm. And sometimes I can't just like it's okay if it comes in, right? Because like I'm trying to be okay with just like any thoughts coming in my mind as I'm meditating. But I haven't practiced it like too much either, so I think I need to try a little bit more to really get into that. But I heard from another woman I spoke to on TikTok, like imagining like a yellow like light or line like going through like the center of your body or something like that, and just like different visuals that pop up. And it's interesting that you say like what you see in the afterlife, because she brought up just different like beautiful things she would like to see too. So it's interesting when just talking to different people on here and like how they meditate and just well, different ideas for one, but just yeah, just different ideas. So I think that's awesome that
It's
you
awesome.
shared that.
Yeah, I think it should be like have you ever done like songwriting,
I tried.
melody or yeah.
Melodies don't come as easily, but like words, like it's just kind of poetry at the end of the day. It's not really. There's no melody to it, and I'm not like the best at it. But go ahead.
So yeah, I imagine it like a recipe or like songwriting how if you're designing a recipe, you have to start with like one ingredient, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you build on that. So when you're meditating, even if a melody comes first, you can ask yourself, okay, what setting matches this melody? Why is it this melody? Is this melody joyful? Is it sad? Does that mean there's sadness I have to face? If there's joy, why am I joyful? Is it gratitude? And then what setting matches that? If it's a setting that happens first, you can be, what is the setting about? What would the music match? You can build on whatever is in yourself because whatever's there is there for a reason. So.
Interesting. Yeah, I like that idea because I that's really interesting because like I had the idea of like there's no such thing as good or bad thoughts. They just are, and it's like what we choose to do with the thoughts that define who we are as people, right? Um, and it's interesting because I've always wondered like where do like thoughts come from in the first place, or like why like these different things that come into our minds, like where does that come from, right? And it's really interesting thinking about that. I don't know if you've ever thought about where original ideas come from, or even ideas in general.
Yes, I think it's a collaboration of. I believe there's a whole bunch of beings in the heavenly realm. Well, really all around us, and we have like a. I believe in oneness, so we have like a telepathic connection to everything. Really, that's
I
why we
like
got to be
this,
careful.
right?
Uh,
I like
oh
Yeah, no,
yeah.
go on. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just think
Oh, you're
it's
fine.
interesting to think about. Um,
Yeah, so
mhm,
I view thoughts like imagine it's like a big heavy ship where if you don't like the way the direction is going, you have to imagine how that ship could like transform into like a spaceship that can lift into a higher place. Or if you want to go deeper, you have to imagine how that thought would turn to like a submarine and go deeper. And you can work with it. But I don't think it's good to run away from thoughts. I think it's better to face thoughts because if you run away from thoughts, they'll just potentially turn into nightmares that will happen during
interesting.
when you sleep because your subconscious wants you to face things and deal with it.
Yeah, that's like it's there for a reason almost. Like I heard ideas, and I kind of it's kind of interesting to think about. Like there's like a bunch of just floating ideas out there, and the more conscious and aware we are of a thought that comes out of our mouth or in our mind, whatever it happens, like it's like a branch onto like getting to a different source or different like kind of idea. And there's like varying different like uh, um, ideas out there that are competing against each other. Like get into your mind essentially. I don't know if I explained that the right way, but it's interesting to think about because like where's this go and where's like these thoughts lead to if we continue down like the right path, if we ask the right questions like why is this or what's this about. I think we can get to a destination together or even by ourselves, you know.
Yeah, I think the more progression will happen, the more thoughts and stuff that we face, and also helps us unique and it makes our hero's journey thing more interesting. I think the more that we encounter with the thoughts.
What do you mean by hero's journey, like for in your own way? Like what do you mean that is, what do you think that is for you?
So, this is what I imagine. I imagine there might be beings out there in that beyond afterlife, whatever, that never incarnated as a human.
Mm-hmm.
So, for the sake of those beings, you'd want to have like as glorious of an experience so that you'll have like tales to tell of what it was like or just like the seasoned. You know when you run into somebody that's super seasoned, you could just sense that they're seasoned and you're like, "Well, how did they become seasoned?" And it's just you just sense that they've been through so much, you know?
Seasoned in what way? Like what do you mean by that?
You can sense that someone's either like seen a lot, been through a lot, observed a lot, experienced a lot. That's how I view the word seasoned.
Okay, interesting. Just like how they carry themselves and how they interact with others and whatnot. Is that kind of what you
Yeah,
notice?
so that's how I view a good hero's journey would you come away feeling like seasoned. I think the more seasoned, the better the hero's journey was, I
Okay,
think.
interesting. Yeah, yeah, I like that idea. Um, I actually also think we're like more connected than we realize, and it's interesting when you talk about telepathy. Like in Mania, I kind of tried that, but obviously it wasn't working. It's just a delusion. Um, but there's an idea out here where I was like going to a restaurant, acting like Jesus, but in a Brady way. It's like not being Jesus, but like in my mind, trying to act like something that's like greater than myself, but also just being an actor. And I was fasting, and I ordered bread at this restaurant, and I just like nibble on the bread. But the story starts here where I turn around. Well, I don't turn around. There's a guy behind me that's like starting to say like fuckity fucks, right, and just like saying a bunch of f bombs, like aggressively. And I turn around and I see like three younger girls, like one that at least has to be like 5 years old, and then their mother and then someone's mother with them, right? And I just go back to nibble my bread, and the guy keeps like doing it. He keeps saying it. So I turn. I'm eating my bread, right? And I turn around and I look at him and I say zip it, I like really aggressively say zip it, and I could just see his face right away. He's like shocked, and and like he gets kind of angry, and I just turn around and like nibble on my bread, and I kid you not, on the tip of my tongue I felt spice, and I turn around and I see he's just devouring his Nashville chicken sandwich, which is a spicy sandwich, right? And I don't know what to make of this. It's an observation that I've noticed spice on my tongue, and then I turned around and saw that he was eating it. I don't like it could mean a whole bunch of things, but I believe it comes down to like we're connected in such a way where I deeply resonated with him deep down enough to like sense what he was tasting on his tongue. I don't know what to make of that.
Yeah, I don't believe in coincidences, and I think when we experience these things, we have to be fair, and that's why I believe in like a mental diary of being like, what did I experience? And I'm glad that you're being fair with the interpretation of what you experienced in that moment, and you're willing to look at it. No, yeah, I don't believe in coincidence. I think there are things like that happen a lot, and I think we can
Right.
sense the future. We can sense the things all around us. We can sense the past. We can sense all kinds of stuff.
Right. It's almost like we're both activated in that, like we're misaligned because like I was being aggressive and calling him out, but like we're almost aligned like spiritually. I don't know if that even the right, is the right word to say it, but like something was activated between us to connect us, and I think this goes like imagine in the best case scenario where like like we're like two people are like in agreement with each other, and where does that go, and what how much more connected are we in that way, right? And this is why this is kind of weird to say, but this is why I'm greatly fascinated becoming intimate with another woman. Like I mean I have in the past, right? But like even more so because I haven't dated anyone, but there's been things that have happened that's not it just yeah, don't go there, Brady. Okay, but like being intimate with a woman, like not sexually, but like just really deeply understanding who they are as people, right? And what where how far does that go? And I'm just deeply curious about that, you know.
Well, so it's interesting that you brought up the fasting in that situation because I think so. What happens is if you're eating a lot, what happens is your a lot of your body's energy goes into digestion. And so
Yep.
if you're not digestion, a lot of parts of your body, like all the sensory stuff, gets amplified because your body can focus on all those other things. So and focus on it. So your perception goes way up. And I would say that would probably be a good tactic for connecting with somebody else too, because then you could focus on them and understand them or have more perception with them.
Right. I think it's
Yeah.
interesting because like fasting, like doesn't it make you more aware in some senses? Like you're just more, I guess, aware. I don't know.
Aware. Yeah, I would say it has physical stats that get improved, but also spiritual stats that get improved. You get a buff. You get a buff, a physical buff, and yeah,
Hell
and
yeah.
a spiritual buff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like you know, I look at that and you know, I was going on a debate with a person that was an atheist, and I just posed that story out there just to like get people curious about it. But it's interesting when talking to people that are doing debates, like they just want to be right, right? And I think you know it turned out to be an argument, and I wasn't trying to make it into an argument. I just wanted to be pose it out there to be curious about it. And he kept on like saying what was going on, but like not why. And like science doesn't necessarily explain the whys of things sometimes, and that's where philosophy gets fun. But I believe there's you know the more we try this out, the more we can like test it. But how do we test stuff like this? And this is why I'm trying to still figure it out for myself. Being stable, like what's that mean, right? But getting back to like the debates, like I think we ought to be like we ought to normalize saying I don't know sometimes. I think saying I don't know is actually better sometimes, and trying and instead of trying to claim we're right all the time, I think that gets kind of dicey and messy and not productive. And yeah, I think saying I don't know is an okay thing, and I'm fine saying I don't know what happened in the story, you know. But we can put meaning to it, and who knows what that might be. And if someone is scientific
Someone.
and knows more about that, they can tell me about it, right? Um, but I just think it's good to be saying I don't know sometimes.
Yeah, I like conversations like that. So what I say is that I think everybody is doing experiments. They're just choosing what experiments that they want to do. Like someone who wants to be wealthy and have a Lamborghini is doing experiments to figure out the best way to achieve that.
Hmm.
Now, what Jesus said is interesting. Jesus said is like you're only going to do the spiritual path if like everything else on earth like you are not interested in. It's like then you'll really do experiments on figuring out the spiritual stuff out because you're just not interested in doing the experiments about other stuff.
Right.
And so when I have conversations on like that, I'm like, well, did you ever experiment with fasting? Did you ever experiment with praying? Did you experiment with meditation? You know what I mean? And then if you feel like that's your main option, you're just going to keep doing experiments around that. And everybody has their own drives to how far they want to look into it or not. Yeah.
Right. Right. Um yeah, no, I agree. It's like we can't like force people to like think a certain way, right? And or to behave a certain way or whatever it might be. But I think the more we model out these like healthy dialogues like this, or like just interact with people kind in a kind way, in a curious way, like people can see that and maybe they want to replicate that in their own life, like and if they see something spiritually or whatever it might be, like maybe just to be more open minded potentially. Like I'm an agnostic spiritual person. Like I practice like praying sometimes. Like I do it in my own way, but like I was indoctrinated into Catholicism, so I was a Catholic. But then I kind of went away from that. Like I don't subscribe to Christianity, but I believe the idea of Jesus is true. But I'll still pray because it's a good way to reflect and be grateful and just to be present with like what I'm receiving, or like thinking about people, right? It is a good way to just to put them into my mind and be aware that I care for these people or different people that I come across that ask me to pray for them or whatever it might be, right? It's just hoping for the best with them, and I think it's a good practice, even though like it might not be proven to be the case, like to work on people, but I think it's still worth it for the individual to become a better person, right? So I see it in a way like psychologically, like thinking about ideas in an abstract way.
Yeah, I think it's important to be an idealist and always trying to optimize and figure out the best option of constant progression, leveling up.
Right. I think that's the best thing we can do, right? And it's like, and it's interesting because like we can have dialogues like this, and we can align with our values, and I think it just starts small, right? Like it starts with two people and it expands and expands and expands, I'm optimistic that things will change for the better if we keep trying this out, right? And just keep being vulnerable and open with these different ideas that maybe not in my lifetime, but maybe in the future it paves the path for like harmony. And I think a lot of people have that idea in their mind, like they want peace, they want harmony, and I think we can get there.
Yeah, I think all beings are causing an influence wherever they go, and I think that's all that we can do is think about what kind of influence that we ourselves are having.
Right, and just being more aware and conscious. Like at times, like a year ago, I would not imagine I would be on TikTok live talking to random strangers. Like I was still like negatively talking to myself. I was anxious and not very kind to myself, of course. And just thought I was a boring person, right? It's so interesting, like how far I've come since last year. Um, but like I like the what I'm trying, like the goal is like triumphant, like trumping the social anxiety that I have. And I think having a goal or an end goal, or like what you want in the future, I think helps people get past like their fears in a case. It's like my ethos is like fearlessly be for others and myself, and if I can do that, and if I am a positive influence on other people, that means I did get something good today, right? And it makes me feel good about that, if it makes any sense.
I mean, subconsciously or not, I would say you're definitely facing fear and anxiety because you're in a scenario where like anybody could request up and say theoretically anything, and you're apparently open to that and excited to face it. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I don't feel anxious about that. It's really just like being you know trusting the process in a sense, and but also just being open to hearing people out, right? Like there's people that come on and talk about politics, and I'm not very well versed in that, to be honest. Like I know a little bit, but and people talk about the government and how that works, and I just feel like I'm out of my realm, and I'll tell that to them at the end of it. But like it's interesting because like I learn from people. Like there's been so many people I've learned from, um, that come on this, and it's one of those things too. It's like the more I learn, the less I know, if that makes any sense. Like there's just like an infinite amount of like stuff to learn, which is fantastic and fascinating, and I find that to be really fun at times, to just learn and be curious. And I think I found something that works for me, um and yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry, I just keep talking about myself, but I'm kind of rambling at this
No, that's
point.
fine. Well, Well, that's again how it becomes a customization game because you're right, there's so much to learn, and so therefore you have to choose what you want to learn. That's another customization option within this game.
Right, right. Yeah. That's interesting. Like how would you like so you say like with joy and peace and all these other things like you're trying to build up the stats for it, right? Like what's something that you'd like to like something that's challenging for you that you like to work on or improve upon for these stats?
Yeah, so fearlessness, also disappointment. So
Hmm.
I focus on things that are guaranteed. I've also experimented with negotiating with God because I believe that you can negotiate the future and get certain guarantees theoretically
I
with
like that idea.
beings that are powerful.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to experiment with. I think it's theoretically possible, so that's fun. Um, yeah, so with me, it's about facing the most negative things and how I would deal with those scenarios, but it's also about chasing the most positive things that I can imagine. Also, trying to figure out what's more positive than what I think is the most positive right now.
Okay.
Also, the opposite of trying to imagine something that it would be unimaginably what I would not want to ever see or deal with, but that is theoretically possible. Trying to figure out how to deal with both. Yeah.
Just like putting yourself through different simulations essentially, right? Like how you were explaining just like different like being on an island or like, having this thought and how would I interact in this um scenario? Is that kind of what you're going for?
Yeah, and it's for a lot of reasons because well, one, you become more prepared if you wrestle those things and you become more prepared. And also you can help theoretically you can help others in like future generations and all that with facing things
Right.
because yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm just agreeing with you. I didn't mean to cut you off. But
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I think how should I say? It's about for me as an idealist, it's about like how useful someone can become. So I feel like the usefulness that I could offer is finding ways of like finding peace and joy in any scenario and figuring out all those strategies. Because for me, it's about acquiring like the practical application of like not only how do I find it, but how would I show or display how to do it so that somebody could learn how to.
So like you want to become like some sort of like teacher or a person that like shares like you've been through things and you want to like share to like help other people out and not go through similar stuff. Is that kind of what I'm picking up?
Yeah, I mean, I would give all credit to like the beings from beyond that I feel like I learned these strategies from. So I wouldn't take credit. I would just be more of like an example of
Hmm.
certain strategies,
Okay.
like an archetype.
Oh,
If
nice.
if
Yeah.
if I could ever be worthy of becoming something like that. But yeah, some type of archetype strategy, something where, yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's a fantastic goal because like you just want to like like you want to be protective for the people, like help them progress and be better people. And I think it's a really admirable like trait to have or like goal. I would say to be that kind of person, right? Um, yeah, that's awesome. It's awesome just listening to you about different ideas that you have. So it's really great.
Yeah, because I think, and I appreciate that. That's very kind. Because I think that a lot of quality of life has to do with perspective. If your perspective becomes awesome enough, then your quality of life is amazing. I'll give an example. Like if you go to like maybe the most annoying scenario you could imagine, but because the challenge is so great, and all of a sudden you see it as like the most glorious video game hero's journey ever, because of your perspective, all of a sudden you're having a great time, even though from one perspective it's the most annoying scenario you can imagine, but you've just made it the most like amazing scenario you can imagine because of how the perspective shift happened.
Interesting. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Going back to you to like how like you negotiate with God, I think that's an interesting thought. I haven't necessarily done it with God in a sense, but like I've done it with like my future self, if that makes any sense. So I I like have a nasty habit of chewing tobacco, and when I was homeless, I was walking out by the lake pretty often, and I imagined myself in the future, like along the path, like up ahead, and I'm like, okay, Brady. So we're gonna negotiate with future Brady, and we're going to figure out like why we shouldn't chew anymore. And by the end, when you're at that point in the future, you're gonna know instantly not to do it again. And the negotiation went like this: okay, Brady. So you like your gums are receding, and that's one thing. You want to keep your teeth. You like your smile, and you want a girlfriend. Damn it! And by that point, I was up ahead, and I knew like okay, so I'm gonna keep that, and it's a contract like that I signed with my future self, and you know it's one of those things where I'm like okay, this is how I can talk with my future self, but as present Brady, how do I talk with my past self? And this idea was like interesting because it got me to think like how do I be more kind to who I am today? Because Brady, in the past, you got me to where I'm at today, and I'm thankful for that. And you know, you probably didn't, like you obviously didn't know everything, and like you stumbled upon some things and didn't made some mistakes perhaps. But like I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for you. And like it helped me become like more kind to myself. If that makes sense. Just like saying these things out loud and really working through it. So I find that interesting. The past like couple months I've been doing it.
Yeah, negotiations are very powerful. I believe all life is about negotiating. And the way I like to look at negotiating is how everybody wins. I think everybody winning is the best negotiation tactic. So like when I negotiate with God, I'd be like, well, how would God win from whatever I'm negotiating? How would everybody else win from what I'm negotiating? And how would I also win from whatever's being negotiated? How does everybody win as much as possible?
Right. I like that because like I have the same ideas. Like everyone goes up, right? And like it's just like a manic thing, but like even now, like it resonates with who I am. Like I believe everyone like is worthy to go to the afterlife, right? To the good place, and I believe we can make that happen. I don't know how, um, and I'm still working through this, being like still agnostic but spiritually. But like it's the stories we tell ourselves. To like for me personally, if I'm gonna talk to someone that's not the best, maybe making questionable decisions in their life, I'll still treat them like a human and like and talk with them and be curious and help them out if I can, right? I think it's how we talk to people and the stories we tell ourselves about who we are and other people in our lives is important, you know?
Yeah, I'm personally convinced that all beings will reconcile eventually in the future.
What do you mean by
So
that?
I always have that in mind. Oh, really?
Reconcile.
Oh, yeah. I think I think all beings will eventually be friends.
Hmm.
Every single being will be friends with each
Interesting.
other eventually. Yeah.
I like that. It's like it's interesting because like I look at even like not even humans, but like the trees and the birds, like they're my friends, right? Or like everything to ever exist is wanting to be my friend. Like even nicotine, like nicotine, he wants to come back. I talk to nicotine like that, but he's like, "Hey Brady," and I'm like, "Oh God, nicotine, get away!" And it's like everything just wants to be my friend, and there's ways to like be have boundaries to not have that in my life as much because it's being a negative influence on me or whatever. But um, I think treating people like they can be my friends or things that they can't or things in general that they can be my friends just puts me in a different kind of like perspective or like lens to look at the world. It's like it's kind of like a psychological way to just be without. I think what's the word? I don't know. Just it's just a way to be for me if that makes any sense.
Yeah, a great lesson is from like nature. If you just like go and sit in nature, so many animals and all kinds of creatures will come close to you and fly right by you and whatever because you're just there and
Right.
you're at peace and blending in the environment. You're just part of the ecosystem there for however many moments that you can stay still and just be present. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
that's a
It's
lot
it's
like what it
interesting.
is.
Go ahead. What was that?
Yeah, I was gonna say that what's interesting is I think a lot of interactions have to do with like being approachable.
Hmm.
I feel like that. I feel like as far as the chasing should be done, I feel like through manifestation where you're saying like this is what I would want to see, this is what I want to encounter, and then just being put on peace and see what approaches you and being there for whatever beings do that. It's a much better way to I think especially in 2026, it's a much better way to operate.
through like what was that, like manifesting, like, but like doing it on your own? But what do you mean by that?
So my theory is, you like, let's say you have all the feelings are pursuing, you would do just like through prayer and meditation, where you're like, this is what I want. You'd be very specific, say specifically in your mind, you know what you want.
Mm-hmm.
But then in your everyday life through actions, you just be super peaceful and let
Oh,
opportunities, like, approach you.
definitely. I,
Like,
I like that.
yeah, yeah, like friendships, all kind of different relationships that way, that kind of thing. Just
Yeah.
like truly just being yourself. Yeah.
Do you believe in free will, or like everything's predetermined, or what do you think
And or
about
what?
that?
Okay, so I have a very specific way of looking at it. I think it's a lot like a director and a screenwriter, where there were very much decisions that happened a long, long time ago for like a basic script, right?
Mm-hmm.
But just like actors and actresses, we can negotiate the script before it happens. So through negotiating, we can be like, "Hey, I saw what's on the basic script. Can we change it?" And so therefore, the script is like wet clay, where there is a script that's wet clay, and we can negotiate the wet clay and what it's shaped into
Okay.
before it happens. So the future is constantly negotiable.
So like, what's determined by God, and like, how do we know what's not determined? Like, how do we because I'm assuming like your view is like God's all knowing, right? Like, are you a Christian? Is
Huh?
that right?
Yes, I'm a universalist Christian.
Universalist Christian. What does that mean by universalist?
It means that according to Colossians 1:15 through 20, that Jesus was sent so that all beings in heaven and earth would reconcile.
Okay, interesting. I never heard about that. But yeah, so you're a
Yes.
Christian, but and like God's all knowing. So like, if God's all knowing, and like let's say, like you're gonna go to the store, but you could decide if you want to move with your left or right foot first, but you move with your left and then your right, and then you keep going with that. Like, does God know the steps you're going to take? Like, how micro do we get here, and like what actually is determined by you to change the script essentially?
Well, I'll tell you why. Because God is actually into alternate realities. Because even David prayed when he was inquiring of the Lord, and he was like, "Hey, God, what if I do this? What will happen?" And God was like, "Well, if you do that, that will happen." And David was like, "Wow, that doesn't sound nice. I think I'll do something else." So there's all kinds of alternate realities. So we're supposed to be negotiating with God to get insight about what path to take, and inquiring what path leads to what. So there's
Mm-hmm.
alternate realities going in all kinds of different directions, according to my understanding. So that's why we have to negotiate and be careful about what paths we take and why.
Yeah, I find that the alternate reality is interesting, but it's also one of those things too where it's like, you know, there'd be so many, like, infinite amount of alternate realities. There has to be, because like if your parents didn't conceive at a certain time, like you wouldn't exist, or like if their parents didn't do it at a certain time, it's like you'd get like so many different of these realities where, like, the one where like you were conceived at a certain time, like to become you, and there's a split to that to be the same version of you, but like different in a different way, right? Like, how many of those fragment out? It just seems like kind of bizarre to think about it, because I can't imagine infinite. I can't imagine a million. Like, it's just one of those things that it's interesting to think about. But I don't know if I believe in alternate realities or not. But it could be
Right.
the case.
Well, I also think that God is working all things together for good. So, like, let's say somebody chooses a very non-ideal option. It could be that God would therefore put them in alternate reality where they have to relearn that lesson. And so, some people might have certain paths where they have to learn very hard lessons because they chose to go that route, where other people are progressing much faster theoretically because they're optimizing like as soon as possible and learning lessons smoothly,
Hmm.
kind of thing.
Actually, yeah, I have actually thought about alternate realities in a sense. Like, imagine, like, I'm synced up with a different planet that has me on it, and that's my future self, maybe, potentially, who knows? And essentially, they've been trying to tap into my brain, or like your alternate self has been trying to tap into your brain, and we can choose to listen or not to listen. And it's like, what does that mean? Like, is this version of Brady on the screen right now from this alternate reality? Am I just an alien that is, on this Earth right now, or like broadcasting to Earth in a way to like help people out? And I have stories that like I have these different wacky stories, but it's like, what does that mean in a sense? If this is like how do we know this is Brady on Earth right now and not a different Brady from a different reality?
And see, that's why I love the story of Job so much. Even though a lot of people do not like the story of Job. Uh,
It's
do,
interesting.
do,
I
do-
I, I don't know too much about it, but I'd be if you want to explain it, that'd be awesome.
okay, well, so like Job was doing like everything amazingly, like seeking God, praying, helping the community, like almost every good thing you can imagine he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, higher beings decided that, like, well, how would Job react to this scenario? Let's put him in a really annoying scenario to see what happens and see how he views everything. And Job ends up actually doing very, very well for the scenario that he was put in. Eventually gets rewarded, but still, um, yeah, that just goes to show how I feel like Earth is a game where because so many beings are collaborating over our realities, that's also what I believe. I believe it's not only us choosing our path, it's like collaboration with us and other beings deciding what our path is going to be and how we react to it. So really,
Right.
yeah, our main, if you would call it free will, I think is just mainly how we react to what is decided. And some stuff we wish for and stuff is wished upon us, really. And we have to
Yeah,
deal with it.
I would say free will for me, how I define it, is like the ability to have chosen differently. And potentially there's alternate realities we can talk about with that. But like say like for instance, I like well, it's either with free will, like we either want something or we are forced into it. And if we're forced into it, that's not free will. But if we want something, is that truly free will, or is it just like because we desire and it just is? So like, the other day I could have picked out my Frankie socks with my dog on it, the purple socks, or my sloth socks. And I had the desire to pick my Frankie socks because I haven't seen my dog in a while. I miss her, but like just despite free will, or to like be like claim agency again of that, I could be like, well, you know what? Because of that, I'm gonna pick the sloth socks. But like, it's not necessary. Like the desire just changes, and it just is. Like I don't really. It's like more of an illusion in my sense, and I'm perfectly fine being a puppet on a string in a sense, to just be the observer in the present and being carried by future Brady in a sense, if that makes any sense, and trusting that I can behave and act in a way that is aligned with my values to be. And I think the more conscious I am of my thoughts, I can like steer the ship essentially. But like, there's a lot of different things that like shape me into who I am that I didn't have control over, or even my biology and how that's like uh, influences like my decision making, right? So I don't know if that makes any sense to you.
Yeah, I like to tactically try and go direct as possible. Like for meditation, if I used to like be able to meditate well because I played video games and there was certain music in the video game. And so the question is, can I meditate with just the music or can I even meditate without the music? So everything I try and go direct as possible and try and set up my life that way.
Direct as in like the what do you mean by direct? Like so yeah, I don't know.
So I put a list of like theoretically what is possible to be taken away. So like if the power were to go out, what would I still have access to? Things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
that's what
like
I mean like by yeah.
it's like just putting yourself in that simulation again, like just imagining like situations where like if this happens, like this is how I deal with it, this is how I adapt. Is that kind of what you're going for again?
Yeah, cuz like things can get taken away, people could disappear, the power could get shut down, just stuff like that. I think about all kinds of different scenarios that way. And so
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Does that ever?
more.
Oh, go ahead. My bad.
No, go ahead. Ask the question.
Does that ever get overwhelming to the point where like you feel like a negative emotion or feeling with it, or is it mostly just like creative and like you said, like imagination uh, strengthening, if that makes any sense?
For me, because I'm so convinced that there's like beings that have been around for thousands of years on the Earth. Earth has felt like Jurassic Park for me for a while. So it feels like an adventure game that I'm doing my best to prepare for all different kinds of possibilities. So in a way, it's very fun for me. I'm actually
Yeah,
very grateful that Earth is exactly the way that it is because I think the afterlife's gonna be super like peaceful Zen. This is more like the action adventure whatever plot twist game right now. I feel like Earth is a fantastic video game with
that's
all different
interesting.
types of yeah.
When you frame it as a video game, it's interesting. Like it's almost like a simulation theory, like how, you know, the world and the universe is just like built on like a computer, or maybe it's like a maybe the gods were playing us as characters. I don't know, but during Mania, I had the idea that I'm playing GTA 6 before it comes out, right, and just being wild and silly and chaotic. And I went to that same restaurant like a little bit later on, or before that story I told you, and I got jambalaya, and I couldn't finish it all. And so my task was to find the homeless lady that sits at the 7-Eleven down the street, and I was like running in like the rain, and I was just being silly and like pretending to be John Marston, Arthur Morgan, because I love Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm just like channeling in my inner those guys, and I don't know. It was I didn't find the homeless lady, but I ended up buying a dude at the 7-Eleven lottery ticket because I felt lucky, and I don't know if he won or not. I don't think he won anything, but I don't know. I was just like viewing life as a game, and it was like it was so fun, and like I was pretty harmless. Like I was just like silly and goofy, and but like there was times too in Mania where I was chaotic and strained relationships with family and friends. But yeah, it's one of those things that's increasingly interesting if you take it like if you really believe in something, like any kind of delusion can become something for a person if they believe hard enough, right? Um, so I'll stop rambling there.
That's fine. I mean, I do like reality as far as like what are the best strategies to deal with reality because then that becomes real because it's a real strategy. And so that's the way I view things as real because it's a real strategy of how to deal with whatever this reality is. But yes, very much so. I like that allegory where if like if the afterlife is like a very smooth dessert, then if Earth is like a spicy entree, then it harmonizes very well together.
That'd be interesting. I like that. I like the way you phrase that. That's great. Yeah, I don't know. I would like it doesn't hurt to I think believe in these things, right? I think it just when it comes down to like imposing or like trying to project or make people believe in these things, I think it gets tricky, and that's where it becomes dangerous, I think. But I think if people like come to find this out on their own in their own journey, that's fine. Um, but like not to get into a debate, but there's just some things in the Old Testament that I just do not get behind. Um, and I think when it comes down to different religions that were older and whatnot, like we can like use them as stepping stones, to, like create a story like together, like now in the modern age that we can all get behind. That's universal. Like, look, that's very ambitious. It's very optimistic of me, but and maybe naive, but I think we can try, right? We can start to build a narrative that makes sense to all of us, so we can be in harmony, right? And I think that's a lot of people have that goal in mind, and I see it. There's a path to it. It's just if it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And if it's not in my lifetime, that's fine. But I think having dialogues like this, for one, like leaning in with curiosity and just like understanding each other, is one step forward, right?
Yeah, I think it's also good to look for like internal hypocrisy. Cause I remember thinking of this how I was first when I was first seeking peace, and I was like, well, are the video games that I want to play peaceful? Are the TV shows that I want to watch peaceful? Is the music that I listen to peaceful? And if all that doesn't like match up, I'm like, oh well, then I gotta be honest about what I'm actually chasing.
Yeah, definitely. Just being more like conscious and aware of that, I think, is a good thing.
Yeah, I think humans can really sense a lot of things, and I think humans can sense hypocrisy really quick in 2026. They can like sense it really fast on
Like,
somebody.
what's an example that you've noticed?
Well, people are so open about like quotes and what they want and stuff that they say, and if something doesn't match up, it just instantly sets off an alarm for a lot of people. So
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is politics. Like people say something to be elected, and then they don't follow through with it. I think that's one thing. You see a lot with politics, but I guess people, different people in your life too, or my life, have often said things that are different from their actions. Um, but just take note of what that is, right? And um, carry on and do your best to move forward. I suppose with that kind of information.
yeah, I think a lot of progress can be made, and I think some people get stuck on stuff that they're trying to figure out. But it's best to try and figure out stuff as much as possible so you can move on to the next thing and figure out what lessons. Because I think there's like infinite lessons to learn. I feel like we'll be learning forever, even beyond into the afterlife. We'll
I
always
think
be
that's
learning stuff and new strategies.
I feel like that's a beautiful way to look at the world, right? Because that's true. There's so much to learn, and I think as long as we keep being curious, I think that's gonna serve us better and for progressing as humans, right? Um, so infinite lessons, I'm on board with that. I'm totally on board with that.
Yeah, and I believe that we're all lessons for each other, and all the experiences that we have with everything is a lesson. We just got to figure out the lessons within everything and how we can learn from or through something.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree with you. Um, but yeah, do you? There's a couple people in the guest box right now. If you want to say anything else, I'll give you the time for that. But I'm gonna move on to the next person here soon.
Of course, it was wonderful having conversation with you. I'm glad that you're so open to talking with all beings and perspectives, and I wish everybody well, and may you all enjoy your journeys as much as possible.
Appreciate you, man. You're fantastic. If you want to come up again in the future, you're more than welcome. But I appreciate you being open as well and just talking about you and what the world means and in your perspective. So I appreciate that.
Feel free to drop me down.
Okay, cool. Take care, man. Okay, we got a couple people in the guest bulks. We'll get more people up here. All right, here we go. Hello,
What's
hello.
up?
How's it going?
I'm good. How about you?
Doing okay. How old are you?
I'm 19.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So what's been on your mind lately?
I hate to bring up religion again because I don't know the guy was saying it before.
No, you're okay. You're okay.
No,
We can talk
no,
about whatever.
yeah, no. Yeah. So no, no. I was just I was actually just thinking about a couple things, beforehand, and I was like, I was wondering, it seems a lot of people don't understand the fact that people call like their God the true God, and a lot of it stems like from the Christianity and Catholics saying that. And then when I asked them a simple question like, but in your own scripture where it says, and I quote, "Do not follow no god before me," doesn't that verify the existence of other gods in your own text?
What do you mean?
And
Like
most
if
people, well, I mean, like, so it says, "Do not follow no gods before me." If you can follow a god before him, that would prove the existence of other gods if you believe in your God.
well in the Christian text, like that God created everything, right? So there's technically no God before that God, right?
No, no, no. In the sense of it's the way of like how you word it. So like if you, it's like how like different ways can be taken different things depending on the way you look at it.
Sure.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like it means, I feel like it means more than one way. So if you take it as, that there should be no God before him because he is the true God, then why bring up the fact that there should be no God before him? Because in theory, there would be no gods before him. And like there'd be no God in general besides him.
I think it's because, well, I could be wrong, but like in the ancient times when people were trying to understand the world, like they had like the Egyptian gods, for instance, that like they had like many different gods, or the Greek gods that had many different gods,
Hmm.
and they'd have like, you know, temples or shrines or whatever to them. And I
Hmm.
think I think it might have just been like a way for ancient like Christians or whoever they were writing the book to be like, hey, like those are false idols, right? Those are other gods that don't come before, or whatever it might be, right? I view it in that way, but it's interesting the way
Hmm.
you put it.
Well, yeah, I think the only reason why is because it's like the way of interpretation. I feel like there's so many different ways you could say that out. Like, and that when you bring up your claim, I could also agree with you on that. That does make sense. And the way you're saying it as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting with different interpretations coming from just different, religious texts. I had a dialogue with a guy that comes to where I live, talking about the Ten Commandments, and I brought up like a verse about, I think it was in Samuel 10 or something like that, with God commanding His people to murder or to off the Amalekites, like every man, woman, child,
Hmm.
ox, whatever, and he didn't know how to respond to that. But then he came back to me later and gave me a podcast to listen to, a Christian podcast about is God the God of genocide or the God of love? And they talked about there's three different ways to interpret the text: as an exaggeration, as through Jesus' eyes, like spiritually, or as literally. And they're kind of, saying with this passage I talked about, you can't take it literally because it was an exaggeration, saying like King Saul or whoever it was didn't actually off all the people, right? Or like seeing it
Hmm.
through Jesus' eyes, like it's like about the killing the sin within us, right? Which I thought was just like, like intellectually dishonest in a sense. Like, why in the text would it say kill every single one of these people when they're being like, no, we go against what our God would be. Like, if our
Hmm.
God doesn't subscribe to that, or like we think our God doesn't subscribe to that, then we're not going to think it's literal. And I think seeing things in such a way, at least with the Bible, and many different avenues where even the denominations don't agree on. It's like, why, if this book is divinely written by or influenced by God, why isn't it more clear? And that's my question back to the guy.
Mm. I feel like that says something. Even I don't even know how to respond to that because it's very questionable indeed. But
Are you?
I also did want to bring up. Oh,
Oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. Well, I was gonna ask, are you like atheist, agnostic, or a theist?
I was born Catholic. I spent a lot of time in a lot of different religions trying to figure out where I wanted to be. Nothing felt right. I didn't feel right listening to any rules of something I can't verify entirely. And I was like, well, if there is a God and I messed up not believing in one, okay, I'll own up to it. But in the sense that there's not, right? Okay, and I get sent to some, bottom abyss. I could live with that because at least in the sense that I live by my own rules, and that's the way I take that.
So, what are you, an atheist then? Is that
Yeah, I'm atheist. Yeah, sorry.
okay? Interesting. Okay, yeah, no, but you had something else to say before I cut you off with that question.
Oh yeah, yeah. So when you had brought up Jesus, what I was also going to bring up was so the very thing I was thinking about Jesus was how people would consider Jesus a god. You know?
Some people, right? Depends
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
on who they,
So
yeah.
I was going to question the fact that if he is a god, right, and we know that he got his power from God himself, does that really make him a god?
Well, I don't know. Does if God gave him that power to be a god, so he did like miracles, right? Which
Hmm.
I don't know what to think about that. So I don't subscribe to Christianity, but I believe the
Me
idea of
neither.
Jesus. I believe the idea of Jesus is true, to a sense
Hmm.
that we can take things from this and learn from it. And
100%.
a thought experiment I had, and I'm not saying this is true, so it's not blasphemy,
Hmm.
guys. This is I don't want to offend anyone here, but perhaps Mary understood like the power of belief is incredibly like great or even dangerous sometimes, like how we can like distort reality, or even um,
Hmm.
how we can form a narrative for people to get behind to be more in order rather than chaos. Like perhaps she understood this in a great way and saw that the world can be different and better. And perhaps she got a group of people to agree that she was going to have the Son of God, but that was a lie. Just to
Hmm.
just to help. And I'm not saying this is like true, guys, but like, what if that was the case? And imagine like this baby or this child or this teenager growing up with a collective group, believing in this thing, right? That like this boy that is like divine apparently, and like what would that do to a person, right? And like people projecting that belief onto him, like how does that even what goes on with that, right? I think it's an interesting way to think when it comes down to what humans could be capable of. And perhaps, I'm not saying this is the case, but what if like we all have that power as well, but we just don't believe it?
Ooh, honestly, I was definitely going to bring up something that I was also thinking about that also is definitely involved, Mary and Joseph, with what you said as well. When you bring up the power and stuff, I was thinking the biggest inconsistency that doesn't make any sense is, shouldn't his mother, father, and any other relatives also have the same power? Because if it wouldn't just come down just to him,
Well, I don't
you
know,
know.
because like in the story, like the spirit, like an angel came down and talked with Mary, right? And like the spirit was inside of Mary. Is that how it worked? I don't know. It's like maybe like they had the same like genes, of course, but I don't know what that means when it comes down to the story, like with the spirit becoming like coming into Mary. I don't know.
Oh, if you want, you could let up Richard. We love any Christian perspective, since if you'd
Yeah.
want to, this is your.
Um, I tend to keep it like one on one with people, so I'll let you up, Richard. Like,
Oh, I'm not gonna make it. If you want me to, I can go down. You can bring him back. That's really fine.
well, I don't know. It's just we can try it. We can try it.
Yeah, I'll be on mute the entire day. I'm not gonna cut him off.
No,
Don't
you
worry.
don't have you don't have to. We can contribute this as a group. I just when it comes to like a group when it comes to like group stuff, I tend to be more quiet, and I don't. It's I'm trying to get better with being in a group setting. But anyways,
Hmm.
Richard, how are you doing?
Hey, how you guys doing? So, I'm respectful. I'm self-contained. So, if at any point the host wants to shut me up, go ahead and do it. I don't want you to feel overpowered or anything like that. So,
No, no,
I
not at
just want to
all.
say a Christian perspective. Yeah,
Right.
because I hear a lot of the questions you guys are saying. I'm like, well, I kind of have an answer, and maybe not a perfect answer. I don't claim to know everything, but I've heard these before, so maybe I can shed some light.
Definitely. Yeah. What's something that we've been talking about that you can enlighten us about?
Yeah, I think you guys said that uh, Jesus was given his power, but Christians don't believe that he was given anything. Jesus said he is the beginning and the end. So he was there in the beginning with God. He just became incarnate, and so he decided to enter his creation.
Hmm.
And as he entered his creation, he limited himself because he was on a mission to save the sinners from. So
Limited.
many
Oh, go ahead.
times, no, yeah, yeah, limited as far as he came in a human form.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, because us, we can't fathom a God like he's outside of his creation. So he humbled himself and like made himself like someone who can be seen, touched, talked to, so that our finite minds can like it's something that we can grasp.
Right. But wasn't like God like didn't God create humans in God's image? So like isn't technically God like a bipedal humanoid too?
No, no, I think we all could recognize like metaphorical language when it says in his image is not referring to like a mirror spinning image, right? It's just saying like it's in his likeness. If you look at the like we have feelings, we have thoughts, we have some good in us. I'm not saying you guys are bad people. We have good in us, and so that's what it means by we're creating his likeness, like
Question:
like yeah. Go ahead.
when you say in his likeness, the only thing I want to bring up that doesn't make any sense is, if we don't know what his likeness even looked like, how would we know that we are in his likeness?
In the Bible, God reveals his character, and so he tells us to be like him in
But
his
what was he
character.
like?
He well, like I said, ability to communicate, comprehend, logical. Now we know right from wrong. We make
Hmm.
decisions. Yeah. Like for example, God didn't create the ants in His image. Like they're just insects. They don't even
But
have the ability to. Yeah.
oh no, no, you can continue. I wasn't trying to. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah.
No, no,
No,
yeah, yeah.
anything
No,
I
I
was.
think I was done.
No, no, I think I was gonna bring up was yeah. So in his likeness, but I think the what you're trying to say it is more of in his likeness is not more so in looks, but more so in traits, like the humanality trait of
Correct.
like being, what it is to be human.
Correct. Correct.
Mm.
Yeah, it's like all cars are created very similar to each other. So you could say a Maserati is in the likeness of a Lamborghini. Doesn't mean that they're exactly the same. It's the same kind. It's the same kind
So
of thing.
then, how can we prove or disprove that he looked like us to begin with?
What what do you mean? Sorry, I don't understand the question.
So basically, the way that we as humans look, we all look, we all look a little bit differently, but the same fundamentals. We all have, torso, the extremities of humans that we look like, right?
Yeah.
With Brady brought up,
Yeah.
I forgot the exact words he used to explain it as a non, you know, I forgot the words that he used, but that's the only like inconsistency that didn't make sense to me is the fact that if we look in his image, in the sense of likeness, we have the traits in his image, and Jesus had the traits in his image also, and Jesus looked like one of us. That would also mean that God would have to look like us. And if God looked like us, the only inconsistency that doesn't make any sense is there should be some likeness in the sense of we don't have anything that shows any type of identity, as in we don't even know his hair, we don't know his skin color, we don't know even, I don't even think we know his traits at all either, because it
So
wasn't really discussed.
why is it so? I guess I don't know why it's so important to like have everything figured out about God in a way. Because like being an agnostic spiritual person, like I think that's kind of like the journey of like discovering who this might be, right? In a sense, like not like we shouldn't have all the answers as humans potentially. I don't know, but
No, I agree to that. I think there's what you're saying, Brady, um, is with our finite mind, like if we could just like humble ourselves and just say, okay, like I'm not saying that there's not answers to these questions, but what I'm saying is like what he was saying with our if there is a God that created everything in the universe, his power is extremely immense. And I would just say humbly, like, how arrogant of us to say we need to put God in a box and like dissect him and know every single thing about him when he is the creator of everything. So, but that's not to say that we shouldn't ask questions. But I'm just
Well,
saying, like,
right.
yeah,
I mean, the only reason why I say that we need to, like, yeah, I agree, we don't need to know everything, but it's also a very fair point to say, in the sense of we do need to know a lot, because when you
yeah,
start
I
bringing
agree.
up resurrection and healing, those are things that you need 100% proof for before making that claim. It's not just something you can make the claim out of and not have any proof to back it up.
Well, how I came to Christianity is not like 100% proof. Because like I said, you cannot put something into a box that is outside of creation, right? He's not of this realm. Like if the God of the Bible, or if God is true, then he is the creator of this, and he is absent. And there's even scientific evidence that point to like an inception in the universe. And we can go, that's a whole nother rabbit hole I don't even want to go
Yeah.
down. But all I'm trying to say is like if this God is outside of this realm, we can't really put him into a box and dissect them to prove or disprove. But when I look at all the worldviews, everything, like I'm really compelled to believe that the Christian God is the true God.
Hmm. But like,
That's yeah.
but do you think it's disrespectful to say that though, in the sense of proclaiming him as the true God? Because doesn't it, in the sense, kind of disrespect every other God that people kind of believe in by saying that?
Yeah, yeah. I would say that the truth is offensive to people.
Mm.
Like if would you guys agree that being morbidly obese will it cuts your lifespan by like 40 years or 30 years, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, obesity can definitely cut lifespans. That's true.
Okay, so would it be offensive to tell someone, "Hey, if you want to live longer, maybe you should maybe lose some weight?" Would that be offensive to that person?
I think yeah, it depends on the person. Yes,
Come on, bro. Like
definitely.
99% of obese people would be kind of offended if you went up to
No,
them and
no, I
told
said
them
yeah.
that.
I said it depends on the person. I was agreeing with you. I was just saying that there's some, one of the few that people are like,
So,
you know,
so what I'm trying to get at, bro, that analogy that I just used is that offending someone doesn't negate that what you're communicating is false just because it's offensive.
okay, that's fair. That's
Right.
fair game.
But like, there's evidence that being healthier is one thing, right? But like, we don't have any evidence of God at all.
I disagree.
What's the evidence?
So, this is I'm not gonna pretend like this is an area that I focus on a lot, but I wouldn't be able to go deep into it, but there are a lot of like scientific evidence, right? Like the laws of logic, like the laws of like all the laws that exist, like the laws have an order, and
Sure.
so it's kind of it's yeah, I'm not saying that I believe God, I believe the Christian God because of these things. Like I didn't come to the belief in Jesus or God through these things. But when you really like look into it, have you guys ever heard of a Frank Turk?
Frank
No.
Turk, I haven't.
Man, bro, like I strongly suggest you guys look into his he does like he goes to campuses, college campuses, kind of like Charlie. Oh, you know what? He was Charlie Kirk's mentor.
Oh,
Mm.
okay. So I
So
guess it's
so Charlie
interesting.
Kirk got like
Go
a
ahead.
lot of his like No, I'm sorry. No, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I don't mean to
I'm
interrupt.
yapping. I'm yapping.
No. Go ahead. Go ahead. Finish this guy, because like you're
No,
making a point.
no, I don't want. Yeah, I don't want to overpower the
No,
conversation, but
not at all.
yeah.
Well, I was saying, so like, okay, so if we have the laws of nature or the laws of logic, or whatever the case is, that still doesn't explain there's a God. That just means like the universe is operating in a way that we can come to a scientific like understanding, or like not even scientific, we can come to a reasonable or conclusion about how it works. It doesn't indicate that there is a God. But I would say, like being like agnostic but spiritually like leaning, I think God
Yeah.
can be used as a tool essentially to reach a destination. Like it's good to abstract like something bigger than us to like be better in the future. And I think that's where I would agree with you more on like the idea of a God.
Yeah,
But
I,
yeah,
I think your view of it is when people and I wouldn't say necessarily that's like an objectively bad thing. I think if society used God and the Bible and the Christian God as a utility, I think we would be well off because we would be using His standards, and we already do that in the Western world. We're not an Islamic state. We're not a Hindu state. We're in the U.S. We're a Christian state, as far as like where we get our morality from. So I agree with you that the Christian God has a good utility to it, but it doesn't negate what the claims of the Bible. Because if you look into the Bible, it's much more than hey, people use this as a utility to make societies better for people. That's not the claim of the Bible if you read it.
right. I'm not saying just the Christian God is a utility. I'm just saying the idea of God in general. So that can be spanned from different religions. And I think in a sense, like with these ancient texts, like especially with the Old Testament, but like seeing different texts, like it was just to me like people trying to understand their life and trying to make it meaningful for them at the time. And I think we can build upon these old religions and make something like new and modern, so like we can get like the majority of people, or maybe make it universal, so we can like pick apart and then we can talk about this in a way where we can be like, okay, this is what's good, we should keep this, and this is what's not good, and we should just disregard that and move on, right? That's where I
I
stand.
I think I get you. I think in theory what you're saying would be cool. But every religion is at odds with each other because they all claim to be the truth and they negate other religions.
Where they share many similarities. I think within the people I talk with on TikTok, like we all have, well, we all have an idea or an understanding in our own way of what harmony means. Like I think some people, I don't know if we can like get to that in our lifetime today, but I think
Coexist.
yeah, I think there's, it's good we have different points of view, right? Like I'm agnostic, who's you're an atheist, ex lava, and you're a Christian, Richard.
Mm-hmm.
And it's three guys talking about, different ideas, but it's kind of similar in a sense, and we're all aligned in a way to discuss what this means and to progress as humans. And this is what it's all about. We don't have to agree about everything, but we can work together and be on the same page, so we don't like,
Mm-hmm.
react. Boom, the end of the world, right? We can get somewhere where we're talking and having these dialogues. So I appreciate you guys coming up and just being open about, what this is about.
Mm-hmm. There was there was one thing I did want to bring up out of and Richard, Richard's your name because it was a little bit cut off. Yeah. I don't expect you to have the answer to this because it's a very complex kind of question. I was gonna ask you because in the sense that I was thinking, since this God is all knowing, as proclaimed, would he be the God of this world or would he be universally a God, as in for multiple worlds, in the sense of, we have solar system, we have space, we have all these things. And, we found some traces of organisms on different planets. Wouldn't that be like, why is it only kind of just us? Why is only us in this world do we have a God? Why not everything else? Why does it not branch out to other things? You would think that God would do more than just have one world.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I would say that's not the. So the God of the Bible created everything. So if you go to Genesis 1:1, it like literally the Bible starts with, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, and the heavens is space,
Hmm.
and the earth. So I as Christians, we don't believe that God created this earth and there are other gods creating other earths. Yeah, like there's no, like those who follow the Bible would be Jews, Christians, Catholics,
Hmm.
even some Mormons, even though they're very weird, but not
Yeah.
even weird, that they don't even follow like the Bible, but
Hmm.
they all believe that God created everything.
Do you believe by chance that, because I've heard by some people they believe it, so that being a ghost is considered purgatory? Would you believe
No, I
that?
think no, I think those are demons.
I see. I see.
Yeah.
Do you? But
I used to
so.
really like ghosts though. I grew up Catholic
Mhm.
and I used to love ghosts. I used to like, we used to talk about all the like the fantasma stories, and we used to until I became Christian and I realized that there is no friendly ghost or whatever. Like they're all
Mhm.
demonic. Yeah.
Oh no, I mean I could agree. From what we know, it seems that there's a lot of malice behind that when it comes to
Oh
ghosts.
yeah.
You got poltergeist and what he's like, yeah, some crazy stuff.
They're always
So
doing something bad, right? They never
yeah,
give
yeah, right.
anybody a cup of water.
And I mean, it would make sense, but it's funny because when you think about it, if ghosts are like humans, it also brings up the fact that like if you were a ghost at that point, you don't have any rules to you. So why wouldn't you, you know, to not curse, but to be a dickhead,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
because
exactly. And I think that again proves our the what the Bible talks about our nature. It says that we're evil creatures, and I agree. Like
oh
I
yeah,
agree. Like I want to do bad stuff when someone does something bad to me,
hmm
or whatever. Like I want revenge, but that's why the Bible tells us like let it be because God is ultimately will take all revenge and He'll judge the world. So that's what self control is what is really taught a lot in Christianity.
so um, and when it comes to the fact of how people say like as long as you repent, that all of your sins will be forgiven. Do you believe that that is a true
Yeah.
statement, saying that all of them will?
Yeah, because when Jesus died on the cross, he died for our sins, past, present, and future. There's different schools of thought, right? That doesn't mean
Hmm.
that you can now be like crazy living, because even the scripture says like do not go on sinning, like
Yeah.
that being saved is not like a license to sin. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, as far as like you're justified before God, like the works of Jesus are imputed onto you, so you become born again, you become a new creature, new. He gives you a new mind, gives you faith, obviously, and so that makes you justified before God. But it doesn't mean that you'll be perfect. You'll
I
still
see. I
fall.
see. Brady, I know you just came back. If you want to say anything.
I don't know. I'm just kind of. I had to go to the
No,
bathroom really
the
bad.
only reason
But
I came up is because you guys were talking about like the Christian God, and I was like, okay, I
Mhm.
think I can answer a lot of those questions. I don't mean to preach at you guys, like if
no,
you
no,
No,
know.
not at
yeah.
all. You're good.
I actually, oh, I actually did have something very interesting I did want to comment about. So we
Okay.
are aware that yeah, I don't know the exact. So if I get anything wrong, you could say so. Um, with Jesus being buried inside that tomb and later on his body not being found, and how the tomb was opened, I wanted to bring up the fact that we have definitely seen in other traditions or religions that moving the body is actually a very normal thing, and it makes sense for the body to move with the way that he was, I feel like disrespectfully buried, um, but it's also really confusing because we can't find the stone that he was buried in. We can't find the cross that he held up. And it just seems like every other data, which would probably consist of his DNA or fingerprints or anything of that nature, there's nothing there. There's nothing to be found. And it's just confusing after you would consider all of these millennias, there'd have to be something.
Well, there's a lot to say. There's a lot to say there. If you guys are getting to
Mhm.
empirical data, I got a lot to talk about, but I'm really trying to condense it. Okay, so have you guys heard of the shroud? I forgot the
No.
exact.
Sounds familiar, but
Okay,
like you can talk about it. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know much about it. I'm friends with the leading expert on it. So the shroud is whenever they would bury someone, they would put a shroud over the body, right, to cover the blood and kind of respect, like cover the body. Well, this is like the strongest piece of evidence for a resurrection. So they found this shroud and it has like a face imprint on it, and they've done all these studies, and like essentially what they have come to the conclusion that the only, like, this is completely strictly scientific, it has nothing to do with faith.
Hmm.
um they studied the radio waves, that the only thing that could have created that light imprint face on the shroud had to be like all the energy that is consumed in the U.S. for 3 days. And it had to like just be like a bright light for like a tenth of a second in order to like not burn the cloth, or whatever it was. Not even a tenth. I think like a billionth of a second. That's the only, like, no scientist can explain why this face imprint has this level of like imprint on this
Be right
shroud.
back.
And this shroud was like there's like a lot of evidence of like it being ancient. So I'm not saying like my faith is on this shroud, but I am providing, you guys say evidence, that is a piece of evidence that well, how would you explain
It's just
light emanating from a body and doing a face on an imprint on a shroud?
yeah. I remember seeing this image of
Yeah.
Jesus on the shroud. I didn't when you talk about shroud for a long time. I don't even know what that means until you talked about it. But yeah, I've seen this image before. It's interesting.
Yes. Yeah, it's interesting. Like,
Yeah,
I'm not gonna say my faith is solely behind that piece of cloth, but you guys want some empirical stuff, you guys could look into that. And then
right.
he
Sure.
said, and lava, you said that there's no, if like data to speaking about it, there's no stone.
Hmm.
That would be it's a fallacious argument. I don't mean to say that like mean. That's a fallacious argument
Hmm.
when you say like there's no it's like an argument from silence. So um that would be a fallacy. But there are a lot of like naturalistic consistencies with the Bible, or I would say specifically the New Testament, the time of Jesus. There's actually like a lot of like historians, non-Christian historians. There's a lot of documents talking about a Jesus Christ of Nazareth. You know, with the with Jewish history, it proves that Jesus was at the time he was talking about Jewish customs. There's a true Bethlehem. There's a Nazareth that Jesus was crucified by Pontius Pilate under the Roman emperor. So like when you look at all the data of what they were talking about at the time of Jesus, even like the finances, I think they were talking about shekels, and like we find out later, like oh yeah, there were shekels, and the currency, the amount, like the inflation and all that stuff, like it's down to a T, like a perfect recollection of that time. So when you said there's no stone, etc., whatever, there's actually like hundreds or like whatever, like how would you say thousands of in the Bible of accurate information at the time of Jesus, actual people, Jewish names, Jewish customs, that kind of thing.
Yeah, to me, this is like all like just pointing evidence to like Jesus was an actual person, right? Which I can get behind, and like he died on the cross, I can get behind that. Like the shroud, like they placed it over him, and
Yeah.
sure, but like I don't necessarily have reason to believe in the miracles unless I like think about things differently, and getting into like the spiritual aspect of my journey. I don't know what to think about that
Yeah,
because it's like miracles like are the least probable amount of thing to actually occur, and to replicate that is almost impossible. But I would be like this too. Like, why this is kind of a weird argument, but why doesn't God
sure.
uh, like intervene in the modern world? Like, why did he stop after Jesus's
Well, yeah.
resurrection?
So I can answer that in two different ways. I seen miracles directly in my family, right? Like in Christians, like I'm in a Christian community, and I see miracles all the time. I see things happen where someone will like prophesy about someone else, say things that they shouldn't have known or whatever, and I've had it happen very close to my family. So when you do say that why has it ceased? Well, it hasn't ceased. If you're within the Christian community, like we see we see the hand of God all the time. But that's I understand that that's experiential. But now I'm gonna just talk about it from. So you were
Well,
gonna say something?
oh no, I was just gonna comment on it. Like, like what was prophesized about this experience with someone knowing something that they shouldn't have?
Yeah, yeah. So they'll be like, they'll say, oh, your daughter is going through you know X, Y, and Z. You can name it. Like I've heard ailments. I've heard a decision being that they're gonna, a huge decision they're gonna be made. I've seen it with my own mother, like miraculous healings right before she's gonna be in surgery. Um,
Healings before she's in surgery? What does that mean?
Yeah, so I'll give a quick testimony. So my mother, she had a lot of plaque buildup in her heart, and
Okay.
there was X-rays or what do they call it, mammograms and all this stuff.
Right.
So there's a lot of evidence. So the night before, her pastor calls her and says, "Hey, you've been healed. I just got word from God that you have been healed." And I totally disbelieve. I'm like, Mom, like there's like you're in the hospital bed. There's mammograms showing 90% built up in your ventricles, like you got to go to surgery. And she was like, no, I've been healed. Okay. And I'm just like, I'm in disbelief, because I'm like, no, like this is physical evidence that you need, like, and not only that, but even days before she was walking and she was like, she couldn't walk or
Right.
whatever. She was like out of breath and like about to faint. Okay, so point being, she goes into surgery for 5 hours. I talked to the doctor and he's like, so this is weird. We were all over her heart, and she had zero blockage in all of her heart.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing there. Like we had the mammogram. She had 80% plaque buildup, and now it's completely gone. And since we were already in her heart, and so like it's those kind of things where I'm just like, okay, that's a miracle, because plaque is a buildup of like decades. It doesn't just miraculously evaporate into thin air, you know.
Right. Yeah.
And so
I don't
when you
know.
have
Yeah.
yeah Yeah, so what you said miracles, would you consider that a miracle, like by today's standards?
I don't know because I don't understand much about the biology or like the health or like how that even works in the first place for people. But
Yeah, yeah.
I would say like it's interesting because like people who have experienced like these miracles are also on the different aisles of like religions with like Islam with Greek like what's it uh it's Hellenistic pantheology Hellenistic something or even like any other religion having an experience with God, like that would go against like their experiences, and this is why I come to the conclusion like there's like a God, like was one force driving this all up that's like encompasses all these different ideas, if that makes any sense.
No, I get you. And so what I'm trying to say is like I don't believe in God because of one thing, the Christian God because of one like a shroud or whatever. I look at the preponderance of the evidence, the overwhelming evidence, and I'm saying and it leads me to the Christian God, and not the Hindu God, not the you know yeah, but yeah, I was gonna mention something else, but I'm sure Lava has a question.
I don't know. I was actually just listening around. The only thing I was just wanting to know your opinion on was,
Sure.
you bring up Hinduism. So if with this religion, how this is a very predominant religion now, why do you think there was religions created before this religion was ever created?
Wait, say what?
So there has been religions before Christianity or Catholicism was ever a thing. I was wondering, you know, why do you believe that, if and I'm not anything disprove, I'm not trying to disprove any miracles, but in my
Yeah,
opinion, I do believe that that was
you're
definitely a
just asking.
miracle. Yeah, yeah, I have actually believed that it's very much so a miracle of that, and I will take your word for that. I just want to know
Yeah.
your opinion on why do you think that, if this God is 100% true, that there would have been
Yeah.
religions before this religion was ever created for this God?
Well, that would assume that at some point this religion didn't exist. So if you go to the Old Testament, it literally says, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth," and there's like it talks about Adam and Eve, and it goes to
Hmm.
Abraham, and so there's always been the God of the Bible, which is Yahweh. Um, but it's all examination. When you examine all other religions, like they can pretty easily be proven false.
Hmm.
Like
I
which
agree.
And
parts?
well, many times their origins. So if you look at you know let's just say for example Islam. Let's just talk about Islam, the second largest religion, right? Like Islam comes like 600 years after Christianity is completed, and so there's like so much evidence of Jesus being crucified, and the Muhammad, that their prophet, comes along and says, "Oh no, Jesus was not crucified." Like that alone is false. Like you guys could objectively say that that's false because all evidence that we have is that Jesus was crucified.
I didn't know they claimed he wasn't crucified. I have no idea. I'm not educated in Islam too much, and it'd be interesting to talk to more people
No,
who follow that faith. But I'm not sure. I never heard
yeah,
that before.
yeah. So like I'm saying, like that religion could be objectively proven false, like objectively, like we know that the Romans crucified people. We know that Jesus was a real person, and we have very early historians, aside from the eyewitnesses in the New Testament, that Jesus was crucified. It's like like how they describe it is exactly how the Romans did it at the time. And so it's pretty well attested that Jesus is crucified. There's no other text saying that he wasn't crucified. And then the 600 years later, Muhammad says, "Oh yeah, he wasn't crucified."
So what
Like
happened to him? What did they explain
what
happened to Jesus?
oh yeah, that's where it gets funny. So they said that their God Allah only made it appear so,
Only made what appear so.
that Jesus was crucified, that he made it appear that way. So in other words, he deceived everybody that Jesus was crucified. So
Hmm.
someone was crucified, but it wasn't Jesus. So like
So like, did Jesus just
objectively,
like
historically,
go away to like a different country and just like live his life, or
I
like what happened?
yeah, there's a belief that he ascended into heaven. So the Muslims say, oh no, God wouldn't allow one of his prophets to be crucified, so we just ascended him into heaven.
And
It's
then
quite ridiculous. It's
another guy that's innocent just died for Jesus.
Pretty
Is that
much,
right?
yeah. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is objectively, historically, that could be proven false. You know what I mean? And
I
then
can
they
see
also
that.
claim, and then they also claim that the Bible was corrupted, that it was changed throughout time, and yet they have zero evidence for this other Bible that was not corrupted. So that's how they get around like rejecting the Bible. Is they say that the the Christian scriptures were corrupted because now the Quran now were the real religion.
Do
So
you
this
think?
is where,
Oh,
yeah, go ahead.
continue. Oh no, you can go. I
I,
was.
no, I was just gonna make a point. Like this is why, I like when Brady says like, oh, we can't we just all coexist? That's in a utopia. Sure, we can do that, but these religions are at odds with each other.
Well, I think it's having
You see
more
what I mean?
dialogues with people, like open like this, so we can come to understand different people's perspectives. Like I
I
think
got you.
sometimes like people, like this is why I haven't understand like we should become agnostic to every single thing possible again, so we can understand what is true for ourselves in a sense. Because like we sometimes like have people telling us what to believe and what not to believe, but like I think we have to understand what
Yeah,
that means for us as people, and then we can go from there and
and that's
figure
why,
things
and
out.
that's why I think that's why I say that we were made in God's likeness because God is logical. He's not illogical. And so when you logically examine these religions, you can objectively, like I just objectively proved Islam false. We can objectively prove Judaism as well. We can objectively
How do you,
prove Jehovah Witnesses.
Wait. So out of a questionnaire, and now I maybe have gotten this wrong, but when you
Sure.
say he's not illogical, with the Adam and Eve situation where the snake had lied to him, and he and then God had banished them, wasn't that kind of illogical due to the fact that they were being lied to? Like why banish someone for something they truly didn't know because you wouldn't tell them?
What are you referring to? Like the disobedience of Eve?
Yeah, when the snake convinced them to eat the apple, and they had no prior knowledge of what would happen if they ate the apple, because I'm pretty sure that God never brought it up.
he
But
said usually
instead,
they die, right?
no, I think it
Yeah.
was
And
they got
and
banished.
and, and lava. I'm gonna be very like I'm not. I'm gonna be very like kind when I say this. I'm not being mean to you.
Hmm?
I would say, bro, that you have to like look these things up because like do a lot of research into this because like it's very clear that God told him not to eat of the forbidden fruit. For that day they shall surely die.
Is
And
God all
the
knowing?
Yeah,
the
go no
oh
go ahead. So all I'm trying to say, lava, is like I would definitely like study this a little more so that you can inform yourself like on like because you seem to have a lot of misconceptions of the Christian God or the Bible or the stories of the Bible, and this is why I
mhm.
wanted to come up here because I feel like a lot of like, and I'm not attacking you. All I'm saying is like
No,
that's why
I
I
know.
came up here. I wanted to just maybe clear up, because in the Bible very clearly God tells them Adam and Eve, he warns them like you can pretty much tend to everything in the garden, but I'm gonna put this tree here of the knowledge of the tree of knowledge and good, and so gives them the direction: do not eat it, for that day you shall surely die. And so the serpent came along and he deceived them and say, hey, did God really say that you're gonna die? Like he just doesn't want you to become like gods, like him. So you know so he deceived them and literally called God a liar, and so they believed the serpent.
There's a couple things here. Is God all
And,
knowing?
Yeah.
Okay, so why create the tree of good and evil and tree of knowledge in the first place? It's kind of like, if I was a parent and I uncovered the electrical outlets, right, and I put like a fork, like a plastic, not a plastic, but a metal fork or metal knife by the outlets, be like, okay, child, that barely understands who I am and understands what the implications are if you do this. Do not stick the fork or the knife into the outlet. What do you think a child's gonna do?
I hope not put the fork in the outlet, but you're
But they're
creating
curious.
yeah, no, but I think you're creating like a false analogy because
maybe,
I,
but even if
I guess I get what you're doing. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
even
So
then,
I think ultimately this goes down to free will. So God doesn't create. I know you've heard this a billion times, but
yes,
I'm
it's
just
okay.
gonna tell you like, yeah, I could tell by your face. It's free will. So everyone that has consciousness must be tested as far as they must be able. God gives them the option: choose me or not. That's actually true love, right? Like if you came to a woman in the street and said, "You're gonna be my wife," come on, you shackle her up, we will all cry out, "That's wrong! That's rape! That's kidnap!" And so, why do we want God to do the same thing to us? Shackle us up with Him. You're coming with me. No, He gives us an option: choose me, choose life, or choose death.
Well, how can it be a choice if
But
God already knows what's going to happen?
So, well, just because He knows beforehand doesn't mean that He causes it. So, I'll give you an example. If I put a bunch of candy in the middle of, well, I'm going to give you an example. If I put a bunch of candy in my living room, and my daughter, like I know that my daughter's gonna go gravitate towards it. Like, did I choose for her?
Well, you're not all knowing, so I would say no.
Well, in this case, children are very gullible, so I would be more knowing than them.
Well, it's just like the outlet instant, like the electrical outlet instance in a sense, in a way. But
Well,
like,
I think the outlet makes it sound very cynical, but like I think the overarching message here is choose life, choose God or not. You choose.
but God already knows before he snaps his finger and creates things in 6 days, right? He knows exactly we're gonna have
Yeah.
we're gonna have this conversation right now, and because he knew that the fall was gonna happen with Eve, he knew that he was gonna sacrifice himself to himself, and
Yeah,
do
yeah. So
all
for
these
not,
trial and errors,
but
in the Old
for
Testament.
I got you. So foreknowledge does not supersede your free will. So you started this life today, right? By
Sure,
your own will. Just because God knew it, did He make you do it?
he knew it was gonna happen. So imagine this.
No, 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 no.
So
That's not what I asked. That's not what I asked. Did He
what?
make you go live?
Yes. So in this situation,
What? Oh no, that's dishonest. That's dishonest. That's
listen to
dishonest.
this. Listen to this. So in option in world A, in universe A, it's me right now. I have option A, option B. A is to go on live. B is to sit around and be a piece of shit. And I chose, well,
Yeah.
in this scenario, there's a God that's all knowing, and no matter what, he knows I'm gonna choose to go on live because before he created the world, he knew every single thing that's going to even possibly exist to ever exist. And right here, it's an illusion of free will. I don't actually have free will. But in universe B, it's the same thing, right? It's me. It's option A to go on TikTok, or option B to be a piece of shit. And in this scenario, there's no God. And in this scenario, I actually have free will to choose. Like it's one of the other, and no one is overarching my decision making process. So I'm okay being an agnostic, spiritual leaning person, saying like I'm a puppet on a string. Essentially, I'm the observer in this world, experiencing life, while the future Brady or the gods or whatever is carrying me forward to have this conversation. And where does my words end? I don't know. I can keep talking, but I'm gonna end it right now.
Did God make you do that? End it right now.
I don't know.
Now you see, you're dodging the question, bro. Like, do you see this lava?
It's not dodging.
well, I wouldn't say it's dodging because he wouldn't know. Because if you cannot confirm or deny a God even exists, therefore you would not know the answer to
Right.
that question.
And this is why I'm
Realistically.
agnostic. Is I can't prove that God is real to anyone else but myself. And we can talk about what God means to each of us, like the abstraction, to come to an understanding. But it's my understanding the Christian God if the Christian God is all good, all powerful, all knowing, whatever, we don't see that in reality or even in the Bible at times. It contradicts, and you say like we get free will, right? But the problem is like if we get free will to choose whatever, how does that and that accounts for suffering in the world, right? But if you take away human suffering, why is there animal suffering in the first place?
Yeah, so I can answer in just two different ways. They're suffering because we decide to do bad things.
Animals?
That's what about animals?
Like, why is there animal suffering? We can be like, okay, there's free will because, like, we can explain away suffering in the world. Like, there has to be suffering in order for the world to exist, in a sense, right? And that's
Oh
why
yeah, and the
that's
second one is the second reason is that like the Bible says that we live in a fallen world.
right. So why
Yeah,
do animals have to suffer?
I just said because we live in a fallen world.
So because of humans, animals have to suffer.
Yeah, because sin entered the world, and so like everything was perfect, and then sin entered the world, and then now there's like there's suffering, there's yeah. So
Wait.
I mean that's getting into the theology of it, but even if you say that there's suffering in a world, and I'm sure you've heard this before, it's like if in your worldview, there is no good and bad. There is no standard of good and bad. So how can you judge and
Not
say this
true.
is bad?
How do you know that?
How do I know? How do I know it? Like I get my morality from the Bible. I so you know that already
You
Wait.
told me that in my view there's no good or bad. But how do you know that?
because you have no standard. What
How
is
do I
your
have no
objective standard?
How do I have no standard?
Well, I'm asking you. So what is your objective standard for what is good and what is bad?
You're putting words in my mouth, so I'm asking you because I don't have an objective standard. I would say your view is also subjective, as mine is, and we come to understand this on our own, how we interact with ourselves, how we interact with other people, and
No, because I can cite you where I get my morality from.
all right. So how about this? Should we have schmecks with kids?
Absolutely not.
Where does it say that in the Bible? Okay, point proven. You're subjectively understanding
No,
what is moral
well,
for yourself
no,
too.
no, no. So
'Cause
I never.
nowhere in the
Well,
Bible does it say that.
okay, but where in the Bible do you see that happening?
Where in the world do you see that happening?
All over, man. Those
Right.
people exist, right?
So
And we're able to condemn them.
what does your book have to do with teaching people not to have schmecks with children?
Wait, this ends up bringing a very big claim now with what you said, Richard, about likeness in God's image. And I was thinking about it from before the whole kids thing was brought up, is that if God is proclaimed as flawless, like flawless, not to say that we should be flawless, but why do we have so many flaws to be in God's image if God's image is flawless? It doesn't make any sense.
No, I never
And
said
it,
we are God. I never said
well, I
we are
never,
God.
no,
We're
no, no,
made.
I never, no, I just said we're made in his likeness. And if his likeness is that he has no flaws, why would he allow us to have flaws?
Because the only perfect being is God, and so we are so Adam and Eve were actually perfect in the garden, but when they disobeyed, that's when they died spiritually. And so when you die spiritually, that's when you sin and you become your nature changes. You start to have a sinful nature. So that's why you start to desire bad things, and your body decays, etc.
So what about in the sense of insecurity? Because, you could say insecurity is a flaw. It's a pretty big flaw among a lot of people. Why something like that something of that nature be a flaw? It doesn't make sense for it to even be like, what is the point of insecurity? There'd be no point at all.
Insecurity. Well, that insecurity has to do with fear, and
Fear, but then
ultimately, yeah.
but that's the thing, yeah.
Are we
Fear.
peeing right now?
Why?
What?
I'm hearing liquid.
No, I'm not. I'm in the car, bro.
Oh, are you driving?
No, but
No. I'm parked.
Okay. I was gonna say you can't drive. It's TikTok charging service.
yeah.
I swear,
So
was it you peeing, man? Come on, man. Come on.
no.
No, man.
You're good. I
But
didn't
like,
interrupt. I'm sorry.
no, it's fine. But like I
No,
was
you're
saying,
good.
right? So the thing about, so we know if it comes from fear, what would be the point of having fear? Like it's still the flaw standpoint. Is like if we were made in his image, we should have no fear. We should have no worry. We should have no insecurity. we should have no trust issues. There's no reason to have fear if we're made in His image, because God never feared anything.
Again. So I never said that. Once again, it doesn't say we're the spitting image of God. So actually, the only person that is said to have that is Jesus. It says that he is literally like what is the exact word? It said he was the perfect image or something like that of God.
But
Jesus
then,
was.
but that's the flaw is that the fact that He was still able to be unalived, because a human flaw is being able to be, unalived. That is a flaw in of itself. So
No,
if he had,
so now you're getting into theology, so which you reject altogether. But if I can just answer it, so in the Old Testament, the Messiah is prophesied to give his life as a ransom for many. So it's not that they unalived him because he was not powerful. Like he literally, the Bible says he laid his life down. Like he willingly gave up his life. No one can take his life from him. Like he even said it. Like if I want, I can send a legion of angels right now to defend me. But I'm not, because I'm here on a mission, to sacrifice my life, or to give my life for the ransom of many.
so
So when you see him on the cross, you see weakness, you see defeat, but there's actually victory for Christians, that now our sins are forgiven, and now we can enter into heaven. So it's just how you present it. You could present it as, oh, how can God be so powerful, and look at him on the cross? But that would mean you don't understand theology of why he was doing it, and that this was actually prophesied thousands of years before Jesus came.
why does He have to be unalive though for your sins to be forgiven? Why can't the sins have just already been forgiven in the first place?
Yeah, so there's a thing called blood atonement. I'm sure you guys have heard of the Jews, right? They sacrifice the lambs to have their sins forgiven, right?
Something I've not heard of.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so Jesus said that well, in the Bible it teaches that life is in sorry, yeah, life is in the blood. And so in order for there to be forgiveness of sins, there needs to be a shedding of blood, for the wages of sin is death. So it's like punishment. Our sins is like a court justice system. Our sins, our transgressions need to be punished, and the punishment is death. And so God uses a substitutionary system to forgive those sins. And so that's why I said that Jesus was a his life was so perfect. He was like the perfect lamb that God poured his wrath down on Jesus in order to suffice the forgiveness for sins.
I see.
So again, that's theology. We're getting to why this is, and that's the reason why. But I think what you guys are arguing is there is no God, and that's a separate argument.
I'm not saying there is
But
no.
it's good
No,
to have questions.
no. I mean, personally, as me being atheist, I don't believe in God in general. The
Yeah.
one thing I do feel about gods, though, I do feel very much so, and I've always stood by this. God's, the feeling of religion serves a very important purpose, and I feel like it's a beneficial purpose. But I feel like the way that I see it is if you believe in religion, the way that you should see it is more so as in you cannot claim what had happened is true if you yourself have not seen it with your own eyes, or there is no proof to identify it as true. So for you to say like your miracle, we can identify it as a miracle, but we can identify it as true because it did happen. So if it's a miracle, it would have to be proven that a miracle indeed happened, not the hypothetical that it was the miracle itself. That is the way that I see things. So I believe that
Yeah,
religion
and
in of
so
itself
yeah,
is a good thing.
and that's where an inference has to be made. I agree with you that I cannot tell you for proof that was a miracle. I can't. Even the Jews reference the miracles of Jesus as sorcery. Like if you look back into their Jewish writings, they say, "Oh, Jesus did all these miracles, but he did it by the power of witchcraft." Like that's one of the claims of the early Jews, that why they're denying Jesus as their Messiah. Um, their Messiah, the chosen one, the anointed one. Um, so what I'm trying to say is like, sure, I cannot prove it to you, but what is the best inference based on the evidence that I provided to you is that it was a miracle. That's the best inference,
I see.
because it's the same thing with the shroud, right? The shroud that I shared with you guys,
Yeah.
this shroud is very ancient. It has this extreme light that cannot be explained. So much power that came out of that thing. And then you see the early claims of Christianity that there was a resurrection, blah blah blah. What is the best inference that you can make from that? The best inference, the most logical one, would be maybe a resurrection. And so disbelievers will say, well, you're not proving that. You can't prove that. Well, yeah, you're right. We can't prove it. But what would be the best inference? And so I think God does an amazing thing in that he gives us just enough to like make that leap of faith and say, okay, I believe it. Or it gives you that enough room to be like, nah, I reject it. And that's
Where
why
do
I
you
think God doesn't, I personally believe that. I think that's why God doesn't show himself to everybody, because then you wouldn't have to seek him.
where do you think he resurrected to?
In Jerusalem, it says that he was there for 40 days with the disciples preaching. And there's a story where he has like the holes in his hand. He's been resurrected. And Thomas, I think, doesn't believe him. He says, come and touch my hand so you can see it. And he come and he touches it. He's like, oh my God. He literally says, my Lord and my God. And he says, okay, you believe because you have seen, but more blessed is that who has not seen and has believed. And that's us, that we have not seen and we can still believe. He says that we are more blessed to believe and not have seen.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. Hey, I followed you. Oh, no, I followed you, Brady.
Awesome. Yeah. I'll follow you back.
Yeah.
It's been
Thank you
good.
for letting me.
Yeah, of course.
Sorry.
I don't mean to keep interrupting you, but yeah, no, it's
No,
always
you're good.
interesting hearing different points of view of different ideas. So I appreciate you coming up and just being vulnerable and open about your experience and your story. So
No,
thank you.
awesome. No, thank you for letting me yap on your
Oh, you're
live. You
good.
remind me a lot of my high school friends. Like,
Oh, okay.
so
Awesome.
yeah, I had a lot of high school friends that were like kind of like your style. So
I appreciate.
Thank you,
I
man.
appreciate that compliment. Yeah, of course. If you're welcome up again
Yeah.
if you want to talk in the future, but I hope you have a good rest of your day, man.
Thank you, man. You too.
Take care.
All right.
All right.
I never really know a bunch of people want to come up and so.
Yeah, you're okay. Yeah, it was good talking with you too, man. I appreciate you coming
Oh
up.
man,
So,
100%.
all right, man.
Thank
Take
you for
it easy.
allowing me up there.
Of course.
You too.
Okay, we have one person. I don't know how much longer I'm going to stay on this afternoon. I could go walking outside, but I'm going to get Thinker up and we'll talk for a little bit and we'll see where this goes. Where's this music coming from? Okay, I don't know. Okay, it's taking a while for Thinker to come up. Is Thinker even around still? I don't know. It's taking a while to... I can't see him in the my TikTok live studio thingamabob. I don't know. So this is interesting. Maybe I should just get off now. I don't know. Known and Paul. I don't know if you're still around. I'm gonna invite you up. What's going on? I don't know. Hopefully everyone's been having a great Sunday. It's been a nice Sunday for me. It's only 2:56. Whoa, all right, we got time left. I might be on tonight. What's your take on Jesus Christ? So I don't believe. Well, I don't subscribe to Christianity, but I believe the idea of Jesus is true. Like he was an actual dude that died on the cross. I can totally get behind that. I have different ways of understanding like the miracles, which might be weird to say out loud, but I think he's a dude that at least died for us, and I can understand why it's so important for people to believe in that idea. So that guy didn't join. I don't know, guys. Should I stay on live more? I don't know. If anyone wants to come up and chat, it's been a lot about religion and God, which we can talk about that. I don't mind it. I just don't like getting into debates, even though I kind of did debate that guy a bit. I wasn't trying to be argumentative. I was just trying to pose questions out there. But then when he was like, yeah, like you don't have like a basis of like moral standards. I'm like, well, you're subjective too with ideas that there's anywhere in the Bible that says you shouldn't have sex with kids, and how do we know that's wrong? And it'd come back to subjective views, which is we all have, and then we can test it out on other people, and we can have conversations and be okay, what's good and what's not good, and then we can go from there. So that's kind of where that headed. I was feeling it. I was feeling really like that feeling in my heart where I was like challenged in a sense. I'm like, how dare you? I don't mean like how dare you, but like I felt challenged. I'm like, why? What does that mean? That I don't have any moral standards. Okay. Anyways, we got someone coming up. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Hope you are as well. I just need more caffeine in my system.
More caffeine. Yeah, I had a cup of coffee this morning, so I'm pretty good with the caffeine for a little bit. But water is medication, man. And I've been drinking a lot of that.
Oh yeah, I've gotten what are the 20-ounce tumbler thing down for water. I just need more of my just caffeine in my system. So sorry to answer your prompt. Basically, so I've been just thinking a lot about like how as humans there's so much outward pressure from society, systems, capitalism, however you want to say it, over privatization of companies and everything, that it's forcing a basically it's hard pushing us to sort of adapt and evolve, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some of us are succeeding and some of us aren't. And what makes me think of that is this male loneliness myth. Now, I'm not saying men can't be lonely, but this whole take like, oh, society needs to step in and help. It's not society's fault. You can't adapt to this new system and infrastructure, you know? So I genuinely think like these people that say, oh, society needs to help, society needs to run and do stuff. I think it's just cope because it's like you're just basically telling everyone you couldn't adapt and get to whatever you want. I think
Right.
the famous phrase they're using now is like referring to women. And it's like, it's not society's fault that you can't get dates. Dating is easy AF if you're just an honest individual. So
It depends on who you are, right, and what your like goals are. But yeah, I agree with what you're saying. So are you seeing like this male loneliness epidemic? Like it's on like the males for like not being in like not like working on themselves to be in a better position, or like what would like is that what your take is? I don't mean to put words in your
yeah,
mouth or
well,
anything.
no, you did say it best. I'm saying the inability to adapt is the end result of them not being able to get what they want.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know what to think about it because you get so many figureheads that people cling to try to like help them make reason out of meaning in life, which is like Jordan Peterson, Andrew Tate, people like that. And people like follow those people, and they're like, yeah, they say something true, and they're leading me along the way, but then they have like toxic traits that like people regurgitate and say out loud. Like I used to be a big fan of Jordan Peterson, and like his self help stuff is interesting, but then he had a take saying like if what was the take? He's like women are basically acting for it, asking for it if they wear a bunch of makeup and they're wearing like revealing clothing. And I repeated this to my friend in Los Angeles, and because like I was like, yeah, it makes sense. And my friend's like, you know how fucked up that is, like how messed up that is to like say out loud or like to even think. And it made me think. I'm like, yeah, that is kind of messed up, isn't it? So I grew apart from Jordan Peterson, but like I think people like with like males in general, like if they're younger, they gravitate towards like these people that speak that might seem convincing, but they have terrible takes, and then they repeat it. If that makes any sense.
Well, all this is doing, and I'm glad you mentioned red pillism because all those people, all those grown 40, 50-year-old single men are doing to this younger generation of men is going to make them just as miserable and lonely as they are, and people are seeing it.
Right. I think it's interesting. Like we can look. Like, you're a good guy, and I know this already because like you're bringing this stuff up and how you talk and speak. And if I saw your eyes, I'd probably say you had kind eyes too, right? So this is really interesting because we can model out these healthy dialogues in a way for like if there's a lonely male out there, be like come on join and let's talk with you and let's like be curious and be understanding and like try to like build these traits up within these people that feel like they're failing at life and build them up and be like, hey, you're good at something. I know you are. and let's figure out what that is, right? I think we can do a better job at like validating people too, and not just like ignoring people. But it's really easy just to ignore but not say anything to people too at times. Like I do that, and I'm not always this vocal with people in real life. I'm different for each person sometimes, but it's these conversations that's helping me become better in real life too for people. So I'm going all over the place,
Yeah,
but
no,
you're exciting me with this
yeah.
topic.
You put it best, and you're kind of reminding of me when I was younger as well. Is I'm a humanist above everything. Like, I just happen to be a man. I just happen to be born my spawn point happened to be America. But above all else, I am a human first. So, of course, if I see a human suffering, I'm going to say, look, what can we do to help out? But this whole notion of I'm blaming society because I can adapt, that's when I'm like, no, you got to take some accountability and you need to work on yourself. Like you put it best, whether it's how you look, whether it's how you speak, how you treat others. And that's where I think they're unable to adapt.
Yeah, and it's like how do we help people in these situations, and I think it's just by modeling like these kinds of interactions, and just being kind for the sake of being kind, right? Or like I don't know. It just starts there. It starts somewhere, and then I believe like it keeps going, and it exponentially grows to the point where like who knows what the impact's going to be like if we continue to be this way for other people, right?
Yeah, and the default state of humanity is free. No one's ever going to change my mind on that. No one's ever going to try to alter my mind because, and I think that's why I love America is because it exemplifies freedom. I can do whatever I want as long as I'm not hurting anyone. I can explore wherever I want as long as I'm not encroaching on someone's land. I'm totally happy with that.
Depending on who you are, you have like some people have more freedoms than others in
Oh,
America.
100%.
Which like women, for instance, like getting rid of Roe versus Wade. People in
And now you got
Texas.
women dying in Texas as a result of
Right,
that.
right. And if they go to a different state to get the health care they need, the medical care they need, then if they come back and get caught, they're fucked. It's like what kind of system are we creating for these people, and why are we making it difficult for women to get the health care they need? It's one of those things where I
Exactly.
think people lack empathy to understand why people are in this position in the first place. Um, People can say it's murder, but I think we can get into debates, but I don't mean to get into that.
Yeah. Well, so
Um,
much to your point, I am super happy if someone wants to stop the ABO, I'm not going to say it fully because TikTok doesn't like it. If someone wants to stop that, I'm going to say, fine, let's do it the smart way. Let's make sexual education available to everyone. Let's make contraceptions available to everyone. And then we stop it and we can end it on the front end. The issue is like these people are telling me I want to stop it completely, but on the back end, they're supporting politicians that take away lunch from kids. They're supporting politicians that don't do anything to protect the kids from the number one cause of child, unaliving,
yeah,
which we both know what that is. So that's
yeah.
why it scratches my head where it's like, do you really care about the life of humanity or do you just want the control?
You know the answer.
Yeah.
No, I get you. I get you. It's really interesting when it comes back to the A word topic. There's a guy that comes here that where I live. I live in a transitional home for people that are homeless, and he talks about the Ten Commandments. And I have like interesting dialogues with him that are stimulating and good, just to be curious on stuff. And he was talking about the commandment, "Thou shalt not murder or kill," whatever. And I said it. I don't know if I can, but anyways, and then he goes into abortion, and I'll say this words until I get. I don't know if I can say it or not, but anyways, uh, and I asked
Until they
him.
ghost ban you.
So right. I'm like, okay, so think about this. So like, where do we value life? And for me, it's like sentience. It starts around like 14 to 16 weeks, I think. So when they can get some sort of subjective awareness or feeling, and I think that's after that it gets dicey, but still I think it's the woman's choice. But anyways, before that, I think it's okay. And I told him this to like see where he values life at. I'm like, would you rather like if you not would you rather, but say you're like in a burning building and there's 3 petri dishes of embryos on one side of the room and a crying baby on the other side. Like, which one would you take? And he's like, the
The
3.
baby. Yeah.
No, he
Really?
said the 3 embryos. And I'm like, dude, you're like, no way. Like this baby that's like gonna burn to death and crying out so loud, like you're gonna take the three embryos, and he was, I think, very much intellectually dishonest in that stance because he knew it was like he didn't know how to answer it, and it's where do we value life, and we obviously, I think anyone in that situation in real life would go for the baby like 100% without thinking about it, right?
Absolutely, and I think that's how it should be. At the end of the day, you and I, and I'm gonna just okay, I'm gonna just speak to myself. I am a man. I am probably one of those privileged people to exist in America, especially because I'm white teach as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you know how often I think about the government and touching or messing with my body on a daily basis? Zero.
Right,
And I think
right.
that should be for everyone across the board.
Yes.
Everyone. So
Yes, I agree with you, man. It's people like us that speak up for people that are not in like as advantage in privilege. What, you know what I'm talking about? But like it's up to
yeah,
us to like set a standard for people that are white, right? It's like let's be better, and let's not like look at people like down, and like let's not look down upon people. Let's help build people up. Let's help, like, for instance, if you grew up in poverty, right? Like putting systems and things in place so people can make better choices, so they don't feel like they have to make the choice to steal to survive, perhaps, or whatever it might be,
exactly.
like, or like understanding mental health and putting the stigma behind it, and really diving into why people think the way they think, and understanding that, and progressing. I think we can get there, and it's having dialogues like this, and you're excited me right now just by how you're talking about all this too. So I appreciate you for just coming up and talking.
Yeah, man. Last thing I'll say, and I'll land my plane super quick, is that when it comes to religion, I used to be mega religious. Now I'm not even an atheist, man. I'm more of an anti theist. And it's not for any other reason other than I think that mankind and humanity is the supreme being of the entire universe.
Hmm.
Every time humanity is met with adversity or some issue, it is not some god or entity or deity that reaches down and helps us. It is humanity that steps up to solve an issue or fix something or help people. So that's why I'm very pro-human. That's
Yes.
literally what it is. So
I believe, I'm agnostic, but I lean spiritually. But there's like this idea I had in my mind where, like, perhaps one in the past or whenever it was, we were all like one collective of something, right? But then collectively we decided to fragment out, to come back together to be whole again. And whatever that means to you, you can subjectively take that in as however you need to take it. And it's one of those ideas where, like, you know, we're all human. No one's above or below. We all walk the same earth. We can figure this out together, right? Because we can. And I believe in the version that I tell myself, like, there is a way for harmony. If not in my
yep.
life, then hopefully someone else's life in the future, right? And I think if we view it in that way, and we can abstract these ideas and use God as a tool essentially to get to this destination, then at the end, if God's not real, we can be like, well, what do we do next together as an objective whole? And I
Yeah.
think that's fantastic. We can all go to Denver, and we can all jump at once to like move the Earth like 3.5 feet. I don't know.
Right. Awesome. Yeah, man. And my favorite quote, and I hope I don't butcher it too much, is like, "Great is a generation that plants trees in which the shade they will never sit." So
Yeah,
that's why
love that.
setting up the future generation for success. So just stuff like that. But anyways, yeah, man, good talking to you. You have a great day.
Yeah, you're more than welcome to come back up, man. It's a great talking to you. All right. We'll keep going for a little bit longer. It's been 2.5 hours since I've been on. I might be back on later tonight. Who knows? But we're gonna get Jay up.
Hey,
All
Brady,
right.
how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm good. I love the conversation. First, I disagree with him, and then later, I really, heard his story, right? And low-key, I agree with him. He is right. I might not agree 100%, but I feel like when it comes to men loneliness, you have two choices: either to be the victim of your circumstances, right, or to take some initiatives to make friends, socialize, and all of that, to whether to stay lonely or not. Because where I'm coming from, I've been through all of that. Like, I've been through hell,
Mm,
but it didn't break me. It made me stronger. When you go through a hell, you come back not just as a survivor, but as a warrior, because you overcome all those challenges. And then you have a choice to make, right?
right.
To be the victim or not to be the victim. But yeah, That's what I wanted to share.
Yeah, no, that's amazing,
You know,
man.
life is all
That's
about like taking actions and making decisions and taking initiatives to change you, your environment, and your, life.
right. Yeah, dude, you're awesome. Well, sorry for when that you've experienced those hardships, but like anyone, like not like well, how do I say it in the best way? Like I'd agree with you on that. Where like I don't wish my past upon like anyone, like the good and bad. I don't wish it. Like I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for my past, and I'm extremely grateful for that. Right. And it's one of those things too. It's like how do you get people to critically think or like be better for themselves and get past that those struggles, right? But I think people come to realize that on their own journey, right? But it also comes from like modeling out these healthy dialogues or just different stories we tell ourselves, like media and entertainment, whatever it might be, for us to like pick up a piece of puzzles that someone else puts down and put into our brain, be like, oh, this is how it's like, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. And to be honest, I'm glad that I gone through all the stuff that I went through, because that's what made me who I am today. The struggles that I had to deal with and the things that I gone through is I feel like it's pretty unique. I feel like everyone got a story. Everyone's battling their own, fighting their own battles, battling their own fights. But everyone's experience is pretty unique, and I feel like what I've gone through is something really horrifying to like share. For a long time, for like 10 years, I was going through a lot of stuff, and I am glad, I'm really grateful for what I gone through, not the victim. And by dealing with all those stuff, I learned a lot and made me who I am. It's part of me. It's not who I am, but it's part of me. And it just changed me into a person who is more empathetic and understanding, and just a kind and better person. I had a choice whether to like, let my experiences change me into a rude, heartless, a-hole, or to a person who really sees people for who they are and what they're going through, and is more understanding and kind, and can help and uplift others. And I'm glad that that I got a chance to like really uplift and inspire a lot of people. I was Chicago's the star 2024. If I hadn't gone through the things that I went through, it wouldn't make me Chicago's the star nominee in 2024 and Global Star Scholar ASME for 2025. It wouldn't get me all the scholarships that I got. It wouldn't get me to inspire more than 1,500 underrepresented underrepresented communities of south side of Chicago, underrepresented kids who look outside and they look up, they look at others, their family members, parents, and their people in their communities, and they know where they gonna end up, right? And we know what's going on in south side of Chicago. But just me going through a lot of stuff, understanding where the roots of the problems are, and trying to make a difference, and at least inspiring 1,500 students to change their life, is what makes me really grateful for what I gone through.
For sure. So you talked to 500 students, you said?
Yep, I
Whoa, how
I
was that?
volunteered.
Okay.
So I volunteered. We have got a little bit before I answer that. Are you from California,
I used to live in California, but I'm from Nebraska originally. I live in Kansas right now.
Nebraska? Okay. Oh, cool. So, I volunteered to like work as a financial aid coach. Then I got hired as a financial aid advisor,
Hmm.
where I could assist first generation college students, and but just in general, non-traditional college students to apply for college, apply for FAFSA, getting them funds, with the self appeal applications and all of that. That got me to like an opportunity to help 1,500 kids and adults to go to college, secure funds, find them like programs that they could like really change their life, and find them resources, and share available resources with them. And then I did another volunteer job in Southside Chicago through STEM ambassador program, where I taught programming to Chicago Boys and Girls Club. If you know what Chicago Boys and Girls Club is a organization where they like provide housing and stuff for homeless kids with from abusive households and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They keep them safe there, and they teach them some valuable skills. Majority of them, they just go to like blue collar jobs when they like grow up, but there are so many of them that are really interested in like tech. So me coming from tech, me having a tech background and experience in tech, kind of felt responsible, like to just go and like share what I know with those kids, and like letting them know that there's a space and place for you wherever you want to go, and not to like just think that you might not be welcome, but or might not be given a seat in some tables, as we know, like I know it. But to fight for your seat in any table, and if someone's not giving you the table, the seat in the table, tell them that I am the table.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. I love that. I love that, man. This is fantastic. Just hearing your story, like how you've impacted so many people. I think that's fantastic. Like what would you
Thank
say?
you.
What would you see like after doing all this stuff for children and kids and young adults? Like what's your dream now? Like what do you aspire to be in the future?
It might. Well, I feel like we. I feel like our dreams and goals change over time,
Mm-hmm.
because I had a completely different goal, and my dream was completely different back in a couple of years ago. But now, uh, I'm interested in building a startup where I can leverage advanced technology such as AI, high performance computers, to build and create products for people with disability, and at the same time applying implementing AI in healthcare. That's what I want to do. That's why I chose to go back to school. Now I'm a senior year at one of the Big Ten universities,
Oh, whoa. Yeah.
and yeah, I'm planning to maybe even go to grad school.
Yeah. So what are you going to school for right now? Is it like technology, like some sort of technology, but what is the major?
I major in computer science plus data science and AI at
Okay.
the university at Northwestern University. I'm a
Oh,
senior
yeah.
year,
Whoa,
but
dude. Nice.
I've worked in different fields in tech. For instance, I worked at National Labs, Argonne National Laboratory in St. Charles, Oak Ridge National Lab in Tennessee, where I was not like doing what a computer scientist or data scientist would do. I was like more of um, I was working in with teams where we would program simulations. We would do like material science engineering in a lab, which is completely different thing than computer science and AI. And also, I did an internship with NASA a couple of years ago.
Oh.
It's called Space Flight Experiment SSEP, Space Flight Experiment internship, where I learned to how to kind of both work in a lab and at the same time leverage advanced like technology. For instance, like supercomputers where you can program ODEs and PDEs, partial differential equations,
Okay.
to able scientists to program simulations, run simulations, instead of like just going to the lab and like which like going to the lab and doing an experiment can be expensive. You use like catalyst, monomers, all of that, which is expensive. But
Mm-hmm.
if you have a program that you can run simulations for whatever you want to do just by changing a few parameters, that's most efficient way. I don't know why my tongue keeps rolling.
No, you're
I'm like
good.
I
You're
struggle
good.
with tongue like this. I don't know if it's speech impairment
You're
or
doing
it's because I
fantastic.
speak so many languages. But
Whoa. Okay.
sometimes I can't like even. But yeah,
You're doing good,
that
man.
was.
It's
Thank you.
it's
So
really
what do you
interesting.
do?
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. You go ahead. I talk too much.
No, you're fine. You're fine. It's really interesting hearing your stories and like where you've been and like what you've done. It's really cool. But like it's really interesting what technologies can do nowadays to like help people. So I'm a 3D artist and I've helped to create VR simulations to help people with autism like ease into a haircut. So we create like a haircut simulator where it could be like a bunch of sensory information can happen, and just trying to ease them into that situation so they can be better equipped to like deal with those environments in the future, right? I don't know how that went, but it was really interesting. Just like doing something other than entertainment that was like medical or like for like to help with people in a sense, and I find that fascinating what we can do with technology.
Wow. Well, I appreciate you for doing that. I feel like um, kids and kids from underserved communities, kids with disabilities, they deserve a lot, and I feel like they don't get enough, care and attention and resources that we should, because like they're the most vulnerable, you know, part of our society.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I
So
agree.
what?
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go
No, no,
ahead. I
no.
was about to
You go
ask.
ahead. You go ahead. I don't. I don't. I
I
was
was
just
about.
gonna. I don't know.
I was about to ask. What do you want to do in life? Like, what are your plans for? Like, for instance, what do you enjoy the most doing as a career?
Well, I've kind of lived the dream already. I worked in the film industry on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, The Marvels, and a few other TV shows and movies as an animator, essentially. So I got the dream, but it wasn't really fulfilling. Like, I'm proud of the work I did, right? And it'd be nice to go back into it. But it's kind of hard working contract by contract, and you're not always guaranteed a job after, the project's over, which can be stressful and unstable. Um, so I don't know where the future ends up with being in 3D. But one of the most important things I've discovered about myself is becoming a peer mentor in college for incoming freshmen was probably the best decision I've ever made in my life. And it was just being there for students and letting them talk if they need to talk, or like giving them resources or just getting into deep topics or whatever it might be. And I remember walking away from one of those meetings, um, feeling like super great, because like the one of my mentees said like how much it helped them, that I was there to be there for them, and I felt like just like shivers on my spine, man. I'm like, this is what it's all about. This is what life's about, right? And I think just like connecting with people, right? And that's what I'm doing on TikTok and hosting um, like healthy dialogues to have with each other to like align and like progress and figure out what we're doing on this earth together, and be that change. I don't know where this is gonna go. I've only been doing this for a couple weeks, like steadily. If it takes off, it takes off. But if it doesn't, at least I reached a couple people a day, or however many people I talk to, right? And I'm optimistic that the ripple effect, or like the domino effect, is like exponential, because like there's like I'm taking energy from like the way you like say things, like I'm like yes, yes, yes. I'm being energized by that, and like that influences how I act in the future with other people, right? And it's really interesting just learning from people and finding new information out, and carrying that forward. I don't know where this is gonna go, but if I can like be a part of the change that helps people uh, go towards like harmony, I guess is the right word, then I think I'd do something. I'd feel really proud about that. But it doesn't have to be that grand of a scale. Like it just like the small interactions like this that make a difference. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I love that. That really is inspiring. I have a question. You mentioned change. What do you think about like change in what way, for instance?
Um, so taking care of people, and giving opportunities to people, like say if people are in an area that's more like poverty driven, like help give them more resources, help them become more successful in the future. I think if we build people up, the more people that we build up, the better, and we can keep progressing from there. I think understanding mental health and illness is important, and taking the stigma away from it, and being comfortable talking about ourselves, and being vulnerable, I think is important. I think we need, with the government, I think we need to get money out of the game, like with corporations' influence and who's uh, elected. I think is problematic. I think we can get to a point where you know we there's ideas I have to how we can elect like people in the future, and I think it'd be interesting to to like have them be creative and showcase some sort of like creative storytelling aspect to better understand or get people to better understand like what their aims are with certain ideas or problems in the world. And I think there's a creative genius in everyone in a sense where I think even politicians can become creative to showcase like what's important to them because it also makes them vulnerable and you can see who that person is a little bit more. I don't know how that's gonna be implemented in the government, but I think it'd be fascinating to showcase in a way, right? I have all these different ideas, but I don't know how to implement it. And I think the first thing to do is just to talk with people and see where I go from there. And I'm sure the right person will show up to like get me to the next place where I need to go with the career wise. But like I'm just kind of coasting and I don't know. There's a lot of things that can be changed. I just don't know. I don't know exactly how that's gonna work.
Well, the I feel like this is like talking to people online on TikTok is the first initiatives. I feel like that for you to like get your word out there and access to a lot of people, and that is wonderful. I don't mean to like tell you what to do or anything as a
No, no, not
project.
at all.
I was project coordinator for SGA in my school, so I had to like kind of I learned to how to like strategize my plans to make it executable. I feel like when we wanted to like at least for me uh, um, change like making changes in our society and helping people in certain ways was to get out there and meet people in person. And one of the way for like not like these people who want to invite people to Church of Jesus Christ with flares right on the street, but
Mm-hmm.
actually planning how we can like get access to speaking with youth and people in our community. And one of the way is to join some of these clubs and community, community clubs, libraries, to take some initiatives there. I feel like even every public library they has these events where you get to meet other people in your community. I feel like doing that might be one of the ways to get access to other people who are like-minded and want to make changes in the community. So that is one of the ways that you could do, and like joining some of the organizations, either paid or voluntarily. I feel like if you volunteer in some of the organizations that are for community building, then you can get to like actually work with other social workers and community activists,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll have much more resources to be able to work with people in your community. Um, for me, I feel like it was really really hard to make changes in my community for a short period of time, because I chose to like go to DPI, where it's hard of like DPI is like a Discovery Partners Institute. It's a pipeline for students, underserved communities, students from underserved communities, and first generation college students to go for your universities, right? Um, and I feel like joining DPI was not most efficient way of helping people, especially kids, to go to college and find funds, because there you have like you will have more kids who already have enough information about going to 4 years of college. That's why they joined DPI, right? Because like someone told them or they know. So that's why I chose like not to stay at DPI and instead join organizations and these clubs, and where I could actually go and meet these kids, these people, and talk to them and hear their stories and tell them how they can overcome those challenges, how they can get away from that toxic environment that they were living in, to actually help them to like because like we can have so many places and organizations that want to help people, but what keeps people deprived from all those resources is lack of information, or
Yeah.
someone not having someone to actually go talk to them, hear them out. because a lot of
Yes.
people, I feel like what makes it really hard for us to like for all people, like, people who want to make change, really hard to make a change, is because people in our society don't feel comfortable, leveraging these available resources. They think they might not be welcomed or things like that, so that's why I was like, I have to like work with these certain organizations where I can go mentor these kids, talk to these kids and stuff.
Right. No, that's fantastic. Like it's awesome. Like all the stuff you've been doing and like volunteering or like just being there for kids and other people. I think that's fantastic. Right. And just like the resources to, like or the different ideas you had to get involved, I think are fantastic too. Like trying volunteering work, whether that be like at the library or wherever it might be. I think would be interesting. But like that's one thing that I hope what I'm doing on TikTok is like modeling these healthy dialogues where like if people don't want to like talk about deep subjects or whatever it might be, like just to be like help people feel seen and heard, because I think some people just need to like just talk, and just share with someone else like what is going on in their life. And if I can be that safe space, like that's fantastic. Like I'm not a therapist or anyone like that, but like I think like people feeling comfortable coming up and sharing their life, I think is important, and modeling what that looks like in a healthy way, I think is good on TikTok too, because like
It is great.
we tend to get
Like
a
you
lot
should
of
never.
arguments and oh, go ahead, my bad.
Oh no, no, you're good. I'm sorry, didn't mean to like cut you off.
You're okay.
You can
You
go
go ahead.
ahead. Okay, perfect. So it's I feel like excuse me. Oh, sorry. I feel like we should never underestimate the power of social media, because we had one of our students, one of our kids that I mentored, right, long time ago. They reached me out on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, I have like a lot of, I have very good connections with very good people.
Mhm.
So this kid reached out to me saying that well, thank you so much for like helping me get accepted to this school, and I'm doing well, my grades are good and this and that, but unfortunately, well, in the scholarship that he got, right, to pay for his tuition, but unfortunately he didn't have like no money, and he had lost his job because of certain circumstances, his personal circumstance, situation. He had no money to pay for the dorm, right, and food, and he was like sleeping in his car for some times. And yeah, and we opened the GoFundMe account, and in 24 hours, because I shared his profile, GoFundMe, and a picture where he was like in a STEM ambassador program where I was like mentoring him, just showing people that he started from where, and he got where to get where he is today, right?
Mhm.
And we secured him like $24,000 in just 24 hours, which is
Whoa,
like
damn.
enough money to pay for the dorm, housing, food and stuff for a whole academic year. So like the moral of the story is to never underestimate the power of like social media. That's where you can
Right.
actually find people.
It's fantastic like what we've been able to create, like, but with social media, like there's like the pros and the cons, right? But like being able to connect with someone across the like wherever you like, you're from Chicago, right? But like I live in like not well in Kansas, right? But it's like far away, but like, we're able to connect with people and like have these conversations. I think that's fantastic, and I feel like we're more connected than we realize sometimes when it comes to these things. But I think that's fantastic that like you guys were able to support this person and put a GoFundMe out there so like they could have the resources to be successful. I think that's fantastic. It's great hearing your stories, man.
Thank you. I'm thinking about writing a book.
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now,
yeah.
I'm so right now I'm very well, like very occupied, because for this summer, before I go back to school in fall, which is like the senior year. So like when you're senior year, you get so occupied with a lot of stuff. Like if you want to go to grad school, and at the same time, like you have to look for jobs and this and that. Got like 5 6 offers, but I don't want to work in a national lab as a researcher or research assistant or whatever, because I had a really bad experience. Because when you work in a national lab, especially as a researcher, you have to travel a lot, and I don't like traveling a lot. And at
Ooh,
the same
yeah.
time, you say about contracts, you never know when you're gonna be laid off, because
Yes.
you're working on a research project. You get done with the research project. God knows how long it might take you, but you can never like really be sure of your job. It's not like a long-term job, you know. So yeah, but well, probably when I'm done with like these other stuff that I'm working on, I will definitely try to like write a book and really share my story, because I feel like life gave me 100 reasons to give up and unalive myself. I was in a very dark place when I first started. I'm like 25. No, I'm pretty young. Like, but well, my resume wouldn't say that. My resume would like make me look like 35 or 40, 45 years old.
Right.
But I'm coming from a very unique place. Uh, I feel like people needs to hear that. And I feel like people, I have to tell my story, share my story, and I feel like it will inspire a lot of people. Life gave
Yeah.
me thousands of reasons to give up, but I chose not to be the victim of my circumstances and not to lose a part of me, that makes me who I am. Although,
Right.
like, just yeah. So that's why I want to like. I'm really interested in writing a book, a little bit shit. Not to like show off or anything. I wanted like, did I show you my card so I'm not like bluffing or anything? Because when you talk like on social media, and especially TikTok and stuff, it's the Argonne National Laboratory, Department of Energy.
Should I explain
People,
this?
oh sure. Uh, People think that I feel like people first think that people, um, see and notice about you is your accent, and if you're a woman. If you're a woman, people will first like make some assumption, or if you have an accent, people make these assumptions, because that's what I've gone through, that you're not smart enough, you're not good enough. But it took me a long time to like kind of really really get over that, and like to be
That's
like where
terrible.
I am today. But it's just sorry, just give me a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
But yeah. What else I wanted to talk about? I feel like I talked about everything.
Oh, you're okay. No, you should definitely read the book, man. If you feel like it's like gonna, I think it will. But just from hearing your stories and like how you've like, I don't know your backstory, like who you are and where you came from, but like we all have that. But like it's good to like resonate and like connect with people who have been through like struggles to be like, hey, someone did this and now they're doing this stuff, and it's like that's amazing. So I think you could inspire like a bunch of people, and you've already done that with the kids you've talked to, and it's great. It's great hearing all the stories and whatnot. So I definitely would recommend you writing the book, man. That'd be so cool.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I'm just brainstorming the things I want to do. Once I get like enough time to be able to really focus. Um, but yeah, I was born in Moscow. My parents are. I'm Tajik American. I was born in Moscow in a society, a place where we never felt like welcomed, or I never felt part of a community, because my parents were working with Germans and Americans for promoting democracy in a place where how Russia, those countries are, and part of the Soviet Union, because I'm Tajik American. I was born in Moscow. My parents are Tajik. Tajik is like 20 years old country. It was part of Russia. Soviet Union, it became independent. So, like, coming from that kind of place where I've seen my friends unalive themselves, I've seen like so many people just for having different opinions and perspectives and beliefs getting, disappeared, and just having like so many, like, not being sure how long you're gonna, be living in there, right?
Right.
And not being sure, like, always being so like careful about what you say, and how you say it and to who you say it. It puts you in a situation where you feel like you're living in a box. But yeah, but still being like. And then when I first came to United States, when my family came to United States, I didn't even know when. Like, for me, it was really really hard to like find to fit in, I guess, until I realized that when you try to fit in, you break this beautiful piece of art into smaller places to be able to fit it into someone's small little box, right? And I
That's
was
true.
like, hell to hell to fitting in. I don't want to fit in until I reclaim my power, and that's when I found good people. I network with good people. I could, and I had to work really hard for it, like attending every single event. But the thing is, like our generation, especially like my generation, should can like learn and understand that whatever you want to do is possible, because if you really understand, and what it takes is to really identify what the roots of your problem is. Like for me, having no network to getting to be like Chicago's rising star nominee and then global star scholar 2035 wasn't easy for me as an immigrant who couldn't even speak English, right?
Right,
uh,
right.
with that unique background, and I could get to where I am today was very hard, but at the same time it was kind of easy too, because I really think deep enough about the roots of my like issues and problems. For instance, I didn't know no one, so what should I do? I should network with people. How do you network with people? You go, like, you don't go to a street and talk to people. That's ridiculous. That's most inefficient use of your time. But who to network with is very important, knowing that your network is your network. So I had to go to like all these events that they had, join like some community clubs in my community, go to these events. We have like events in Chicago, like career development, like you have like CEOs and directors from different companies and places where they just talk to youth, and then we have this program called High Shark Tide, where it takes students to these big tech companies like Google, Microsoft, all that. I had to like, I was introverted with 50%, able to speak English, but I had to like go and shake people's hand and talk to them and ask them for advice and tips and ask, how did you get here, right? What should I do? Advice and that. But yeah, I feel like if we understand our problems better, we can solve it. Like, no, the problem is 50%, the
Right.
answer.
Like being like introspective and like asking like the right questions, like internally to like navigate like your own internal like brain, like the complexities of like who we are today and like why we are the way we are, I think is important. And just being curious about it, and I think how you explained it was really great, and just trying to like be more aware of just like what we're doing, and why we're doing that in the first place, I think is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, just
But
being.
sorry, I'm probably gonna get off for the day. But if you had any like final closing statements and whatnot, I'll give you time to say that.
Absolutely. It would take 50 seconds.
No problem. No problem.
Um, always believe in yourself, and people doesn't have to love you, respect you, accept you. It's your job to do that for yourself, and your happiness is your job. Your success is your job. No one gonna give you nothing for free. You have to fight for your seat in whatever table you want to sit in. That's the key, and just keep dreaming big and believing in yourself. And thank you so much for talking to me and listening to me.
For
And
sure.
yeah, it's so nice meeting you, Brady.
You too, man. You're amazing. You're welcome anytime up again if you want to talk in the future. But it's been great just listening to you, and I appreciate being vulnerable and open about your story. And I think it's inspiring just hearing how much like of an impact you had on your community. So keep it up, man. And I look forward to talking with you in the future again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Take care, man. All right. Bye bye. Cool. All right, guys. That's the end, and we're gonna end it now.